And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, another edition of the Korean StarCraft League, week number 38. I'm, of course, your host, Light VIP, and with me, I'm joined by the lovely people in the chat and these lovely players that we have before you as well. It's good to see you again. Good to be back. And this is something a little bit different. This event, of course, the KSL, was hosted over the weekend. It was hosted on Saturday, but we were also quite busy on Saturday. Saturday in the morning was when we were covering, I believe, the IEM European closed qualifiers for Katowice. So in the morning we were covering that, and in the evening we were covering WTL, World Team League. And KSL was in between that. KSL was in between IEM and in between WTL. And initially I was like, no, yeah, I'll do it all, papi. I'll do it all. That was before the European qualifiers lasted 6 hours. It was a very long qualifier. It was longer than all the others, actually. It was longer than the NA qualifiers and the Korean qualifiers as well. So I was not expecting it to go on for that long. I was hoping that it would end a little bit earlier so I could actually get a couple of extra hours of sleep. Didn't happen. It did not happen. And when the time came around for KSL to go live, I did end up waking up, but I woke up 30 minutes after it went live. I woke up 30 minutes after it went live, and I was I checked my phone. I saw that it already started. I saw that, you know, the stream's already live, and I just put down the phone. I went back to bed. I didn't have it in me. I didn't have the energy to do it, and I'm glad that I didn't, just because I was able to be a little bit better rested to go into World Team League. If you remember, it was into World Team League and then into the NAIM qualifiers. Like, it was an intense weekend, a very intense weekend of StarCraft, and as a result, we did miss out on KSL, but, you know, big shout out to the Patreon, big shout out to Chicken Man and Dave Testa and all the people behind KSL, because of course they provide replay packs to casters, to patrons, to the people, to the community. So we have before us a replay cast. I hate missing events. I hate missing casts, whether it's KSLs or the ESL Open Cup sometimes, if like the internet's a little bit shaky. So yeah, we're here to catch up. We're here for a catch-up stream. So if you happen to be watching it live on Saturday, then maybe you've already seen these matches. I recommend not spoiling it for the people in the chat and for ourselves. I have no idea what happened. I was asleep. I was in bed when the events were happening live. So we're here to experience it for the first time together. Let's go. Let us go. On top of that, I believe the events today, or the events for KSL week number 38, was a little bit shorter as well. It was a shorter broadcast, a shorter event, just because a lot of the Korean players, a lot of the regulars, were also in bed. They were also under the weather and passed out, because they were also competing in all the qualifiers. They were also competing in the European qualifier that I just mentioned, and the Americas qualifier as well. So it was just a very intense weekend, not just for the casters, but also for the players as well. So yeah, a lot of StarCraft was had, a lot of StarCraft was held, and now we're here to catch up. We're here to catch up with everything that did go down. And as you can see, we're here with our first matchup, with a PvP between Nightmare and Cyan. Recently, Cyan has been impressing us a lot. I just spoke about the IM qualifiers. I'll try not to bring it up too much, but Cyan is one of the players that did actually qualify through the Asia qualifiers. For the Asia server qualifiers, Cyan, he actually beat DRG, Dongregoo, in a qualifying match, and Cyan made it to Katowice. He made it to the main event. He did something that a lot of the other big name Koreans could not do. So yeah, Cyan really popped off when it mattered most, and he's going to be in Poland. He's going to be in IM Katowice. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be beautiful. It's really impressive to see him there. It's really cool to see him there as well. And it's been, you know, of course, off the back of half a year or a year full of improvements. You know, Cyan alongside Firefly, alongside Jeshi, the Chinese Protoss players that have been doing so well for themselves, improving over the past 12 months. And every now and then, you know, in these weekly tournaments in WTL, they pop off, they take down a big name, and yeah, it's kind of paid off. It's really cool to see a player like Cyan be able to travel abroad and travel internationally and compete on a live stage like that. It's gonna be a great time. IM Katowice is gonna be beautiful. But of course, you know, there's also it's a little bit bittersweet as well in my eyes, in my heart at least. Cyan, I don't know if you can see there, he is on a new team. He was on SSLT, he was on the Starving Camels for a very long time, but he was recently, as of 2 weeks ago, I want to say 2 weeks ago, he was picked up by Mystery Gaming instead. So he's going to be representing a different team that we're used to seeing, but regardless, I'm ready to experience the more of Cyan. And here we go, we'll dive into it. Game number 1 is going to be on Oceanborn in this PvP. Of course, we have a couple of matches lined up. We're going to be covering both semi-finals as well as the finals as well, so plenty of StarCraft to be had. And here we go, spawning in the top left-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the South Korean Protoss player representing Matcherino Esports. It is Nightmare. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the Chinese Protoss player, newly qualified for IM Katowice. It is representing Mystery Gaming. He is Cyan, who is red. I'm shaking my head. It always bothers me whenever we cast a player that is like correlated to a color. You know, there's Cyan, there's Azure, there's Crimson as well. To name the 3 off the top of my head. Give him blue. let him be a little bit, at least a little bit closer to the color Cyan. Shaking my head. For now though, is just going for a probe scout. We have a double gate opener set up here by Cyan. Likewise, we have a double gate opener set up by Nightmare. We have our gateways on top of the ramp, as to be expected in a mirror matchup like this in a PvP. We have spoken about this. Big shout out to the KSL, to the logo, of course. But we have spoken about how some of the Korean players have adopted going for gate expands instead. Those Koreans namely being Hero, Classic, and Nightmare as well. So if there were ever to be a player to deviate and to go for a more economic opener here in this PvP, it would be Nightmare. So my eyes are on him. For now though, 2 gate opener. 2 gate opener. Probes are coming in for a bit of a scout, just to confirm that all the pylons are where they should be. Both players just keeping an eye on each other, making sure that there is no proxy out on the map. Speaking of, there is no probe, so there's no probe out there. There it is. The second pylon is thrown down in the main base of Nightmare, is spotted by Cyan. As, a bit of a misclick, did click on that gas geyser, thankfully does get out of there. Meanwhile, across the map, Cyan should also be throwing down his second pylon as well. So yeah, so far everything's looking as it should. Cyan is going to be actually delaying it for quite some time, and there we go, pylon now, just now on the way. Sure, looking for a bit of a faster expansion here to get into this. So I was really confused. This pylon is late, Cyan is supply blocked, and these first 2 units are delayed. At first I thought this was intentional. No, it was not intentional. So a brutal supply block there. We have to try to catch up, and there we go. We're getting our Nexus here on location. Cyan, he makes up with the supply block with a faster base, so he will have a slightly better economy. It's going to be on Nightmare to be a little bit more assertive and aggressive. And here we go. He moves out with his first 2 Stalkers. We have 2 more Stalkers on the way. Immediately we have Nightmare moving out across the map. He also, I'm sure, saw how delayed this pylon was, and that is the proxy pylon. We are setting up for a 1 base all-in. The aggression is upon us. For now, we see Cyan trying to get a read on what's going on, trying to make sure there's no additional production or additional tech. 2 Stalkers have arrived, and there it is, Proxy Robo and a 3rd gateway. It is a 1 base all-in here from Nightmare, and Cyan, for the time being, 1, doesn't know what's going on. 2, went for an economic opener. Remember, he delayed his 2nd unit. He got supply blocked earlier in favor of an expansion, in favor of a Nexus, and oh, that's a kill, not a cancel on the shield battery. Ay. Cyan in a lot of trouble here. Nightmare going to be reinforcing. We have more shield batteries on the way. We're going for a defensive robo. It looks like we have realized what's going on. We have realized we are in quite an amount of danger here, but knowing is half the battle. We focus down the sentry. We have some force fields, but it's not enough to lock down these units. Nightmare does back off in time, and again, we have reinforcements soon to be on the way. Additional Stalkers waddling across the map. Cyan, he needs more time. Does have a shield battery on the high ground. Shield battery soon to be on the low ground with an overcharge available as well. That will help. Warp Gate just finished off the robo, still so far away, and again, this Nexus is not helping. I mean, it does give access to the overcharge, I guess, but it's not about the economy, it's about the army at the moment. Looking at the units tab, we have 6 Stalkers against the 4 of Cyan. Threading a shade into the main, we do wall off, just barely with that shield battery. And we're pushing on forward here, we're trying to bait out that overcharge, and it looks like we should get a decent force field, but Again, we just don't have the DPS. Overcharge is popped. I think we can still focus down. Yeah, we can still focus down the Stalkers. And the Pylon! No! Pylon gets focused down. We depower the shield battery and that. Oh, but the force field! We cut up the army, and that may just be it. We cut off some of those Stalkers. The Immortal has arrived. GG gets called, and Nightmare will take game number 1. GG. A brutal start to the series there, but a good punish from Nightmare. Remember, it was a reactive all-in from Nightmare. He had gone for a second pylon in his main base. He had gone for a delayed proxy in the center of the map after he saw that his opponent had opened up quite greedily. After he saw the faster nexus of his opponent, and we're also loading into Oceanborn, so short rushes and spy ground. As soon as he pieced 2 and 2 together, he's like, you know what? Let's just commit. Let's just go all in, papi. And with that, Nightmare snowballed out of control. Cyan, he did his best there to try to hold on, but again, there was a lot working against him in that scenario. And just like that, Nightmare does take a 1-0 lead. Whew. But now, we're going to be loading in to game number 2. Game number 2 will be taking place on Solaris. A much larger map in the map pool, so if we did want to be a little bit more greedy and economic, this would be a map to do it on. It would make a little bit more sense to try to whip that out here on a map like Solaris, but here we go. In the bottom left-hand corner, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the blue Protoss, representing Macherino Esports. It is Nightmare. And Morning. In the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Chinese Protoss player, the red Protoss, representing Mystery Gaming. Down in this series, there we go. Down in this series, looking to fight back, it is Cyan. Here we go. So openers are upon us. Once again, we have pylons here on the high ground, so should be seeing 2 gate openers from both players. Everything's looking normal, everything's looking standard, but even if we throw down 2 gateways, even if we throw down a second pylon in the main, clearly we can see that our players are willing to be aggressive. At least Nightmare is willing to be aggressive. Is what he does, is how he does even. Again, Nightmare, one of the more aggressive Protosses in Korea. I mean, I say that, really they're all aggressive. I think the only one that's slightly more passive is Creator. He's a little bit more macro-oriented. But outside of Creator, you know, Nightmare, Classic, Hero, they all wish to be in your face. Probe Scout's going to be coming in. And as we get our scouts off, a big shout out as well to the Korean StarCraft League, to KSL. Didn't mention it, but there is a command in the chat if you wish to support the KSL as well. I'll just exclamation mark KSL in the chat, and you can get a link to the Patreon. So if you want these replay packs yourself, then you can do so by becoming a patron. I think they have some other rewards as well if you want to take part in, if you want to support it in another way. But again, big shout out to the Korean StarCraft League, to Chicken Man, and to Dave Tesla as well. They do quite a lot here for the community, specifically for the Korean community. Oh, meanwhile, where are we going? This probe here being sent out towards the center of the map, going for a proxy pylon towards the left-hand side. So, interesting. We did have 2 pylons here from Cyan. He reveals his second pylon placement, so Nightmare believes that everything is normal, when we can see it's anything but. This pylon is not a fake proxy pylon. I believe we should be committing with this. We should be. Because otherwise there's no reason to throw down a 3rd pylon out of the map if we already had 2 back at home. This probe, yeah, is going to be forced back, and I believe we should be pivoting in that direction for now. Going for a going for a pylon, going for a block. It's going to be double Stalker here from Nightmare. We have double Adept from Cyan. Not just double Adept, we have a 3rd and 4th Adept on the way as well. Now these Adepts, they should be shutting down this probe, and there we go. Immediately we do back off, we pivot away, we go to this pylon. As we mentioned before, this pylon was thrown down for a reason, and it should be for, I imagine, a reinforcement point, for I imagine a proxy gateway, but we'll see if we go do something crazy and go for a robo. For now, the Adepts, they do make it back. Again, shading towards that main base. Stalkers trying to keep up here with the movement. And for now, we can actually work our way through. Oh no! But we have additional Stalkers rocking up, forcing the recall as well. We do race back home. Meanwhile, we do have the robo on the way. We have a robo back at home, which means this should be a gateway across the map. With this robo-based opener, it's looking actually not committed. We have a shield battery. focusing down the pylon. We're not going to be doing anything with this. Maybe we assumed if Nightmare was being more economic, we could try to punish him. But yeah, we're just going in for a scout. Okay. The aggression doesn't stop. Because Nightmare, we have Blink on the horizon. And, you know, I assumed that Cyan would be the aggressor this time. No. It's going to be Nightmare. How could I doubt him? Part of me was like, no, yes, Nightmare, he's going to try to expand and take a natural base. No, Bobby, no. There's a proxy gateway, so it's going to be 3-gate Blink out of Nightmare. And he has the Stalker advantage in a head-to-head fight. He does have more firepower. He's already focusing on one of those Adepts. Adept does go down. We have a shield battery on the low ground. Second Adept falls as well. And the shield battery, that's a kill, not a cancel, and we're snowballing out of control. It's becoming far too much, far too quickly. Again, these Adepts, they're designed to harass. They're not designed to fight. Not like this. And this is already paying for itself. Already getting far too much done. Cyan, supply block. We have a robot. Sorry, we have an Immortal on the way. The Immortal will help. But we will have to cancel this expansion. There's the cancel. We don't have high ground vision. And from here, we're just expanding. So Nightmare, he's not all in. It's not a 4-gate, for example. He's just containing his opponent to one base. And getting ahead economically behind it. With that Nexus. Robo's on the way. Defensive Robo to get defensive Immortals or to get a Warp Prism is in production. I believe Nightmare hasn't even seen the Immortal yet. He's not really sure what he's up against until now. He does get eyes on the Immortal. Blink is done. We had a really good force field, but the Blink does counteract that. And now upon seeing the Immortal, we are aware it's a Robo Opener, not a Twilight Council. We can delay the Observer. Meanwhile, 2 Adepts, they shade into the main. Cyan getting some counter damage done. Gets into the main base. Probes are going down. We're forcing a recall. Very nicely done. And Nightmare, to begin with, didn't really have a high worker count. He's down to 16. His economy in shambles. He's going to get a sentry. Nice kind of force field. Nightmare, he's down to 7. He's down 10 workers compared to Cyan. Cyan, he can recover. He's up to 2 Immortals now, and he's pushing out. Has it come across the proxy. He's going to be able to shut it down. The Immortals, again, they have arrived. They force back Nightmare. Nightmare has to respect it. I'm loving that we are peeling away a couple of Adepts here, hiding them on the right-hand side. They're going to try to shade in whenever they can. Can we get the sentry? Oh! Try to focus it down. We do not get it. Sentry does survive. Prism has arrived as well. Behind this Adepts, they shade in. Once again, they get 1 probe. But again, Cyan, he does have a worker lead. He's expanding, taking his natural, moving out through the center of the map. As he moves out, Nightmare has eyes on this, and he comes in. He moves in with those Adepts. So even though Cyan currently has a worker lead, that may soon be about to change. There's no probe to wall off. The Adepts, they will make it into the main base. We force a recall. Cyan taking this very seriously, and just like that, Nightmare, he alleviates the pressure. He's got additional warp-ins. And he's the one moving out once again. He comes across the pylon, actually. Warp Prism making his way into the main. Adepts will be able to dive into the main base as well. Nightmare, he's not out of this. Getting a 3rd Immortal. Gonna be threatening a shade into that mineral line. We don't commit. Prism gets in. And Adepts are going to wreak havoc here in the main base of Nightmare. But he catches some Stalkers. Big pickoff. 3 Stalkers do go down. Across the map, we do have a defensive warp in. The Adepts are forced out. Nightmare looking at the unit tab. He's got 14 Stalkers to the 3 of his opponent. No shield battery. No shot. No shield battery. No overcharge. This base is looking very vulnerable. Now we throw down the shield battery, but it may just be too late. Again, with this amount of Stalkers, we could just focus down these Immortals, but no, we actually have high ground vision. We can go into the main. We dive into the main base instead. Cyan, he's able to keep up. He is in position. We now have 3 Immortals. And they're going to town on these Stalkers. Oh my god. Did I say 3? I meant to say 4 Immortals. Not doing too badly here. We're holding. Cyan's army is less mobile, but so far he's able to keep up with the rotations. Meanwhile, the Prism across the map does get caught out. You see Nightmare trying to shut it down. force field is getting into its own immortal production. And Nightmare, he's been probing up behind this. He's still behind economically, still down in workers, down in immortals, and we're about to even up those upgrades. Blink is on the way for Cyan. It's still anyone's game. Looking at the units tab, Cyan still at half the Stalker count of Nightmare, but the immortals, he's got 5 immortals. That's insane. I don't know if we can stop that. That's a lot of DPS. 5th immortal still making its way across the map. I'd love to see the War Prism with this as well so we can juggle, and there we go, the Prism does meet up with the rest of the army. Nightmare, can he hold on here? Can he survive this? Do force a recall just to get everything we can to defend. We have a shield battery, we have an overcharge, good force field, we're going straight for the immortal. Good juggling out of Cyan, keeps it alive. Blink forward, we get one of those adepts. Cyan, as he postures, he's taking a third. He's containing his opponents, just checking, making sure there's no third base here on the right-hand side. Going for a warp in. Again, Blink is done. We could try to go into the main base. As we wait a little bit longer here, Nightmare, his immortal count is slowly getting higher and higher. 3rd immortal on the way. Pull off this defense so far. Good force fields, good juggling. Oh, once again, keeps the immortal alive. Forces the overcharge. This position going to be that much weaker. Trading 1 for 1. At the same time, Nightmare going to try to move out with a couple of adepts. Does pick off the Observer. Going to make it that much more difficult for Cyan to dive into the main. Once again, pushing forward. The Prism goes down. Good target fire without the Prism, the immortal. We can't juggle, not anymore. The force fields are better here for Nightmare. Yeah, and just like that, Cyan has to back off. He lost an immortal, a Prism, and for what? For 1 Stalker. A much better trade here for Nightmare, killing the immortal, the Prism, Stalker, Sentries, and the Observer. Ay, ay, ay. Nightmare has to retreat, and suddenly... Sorry, Cyan has to retreat. Suddenly, Nightmare has momentum. He is moving out. Getting his 3rd base behind this. Bearing in mind that Cyan also stopped immortal production, so he stopped at 5, now he's down to 4. We have an even immortal count. Observer is going to be saved. We do have 2 shield batteries at the 3rd base. We have a decent concave as well. The adepts, they do make it behind the army. Get a couple of workers. Going for another warp in. Nightmare finding another way up this ramp. Trying to at least. He blinks on forward. He's going for it. The force fields. We cut off the army. The Prism is going to go down. No, not quite. The Prism survives. These Stalkers go down instead. A bit of miscontrol there out of Cyan. Here come the Immortals. Force fields, they have run out. So far, the Prism finally does fall. Likewise, Nightmare also going for the Prism of Cyan. And it looks like Nightmare, he has a bit too much. He has the Immortal lead. Blink's behind them. Cyan has to back off as the dust does settle. Wait, Nightmare, he didn't lose a single Immortal. I mean, they were force fielded away, if you remember. Losing 0 Immortals, Cyan lost 2. And suddenly, Nightmare has the stronger army. He has the higher army supply. He dives on the Immortal. He's going to shut it down. Cyan down to 1. What was the time in this game? We had 5 Immortals to the, what was it, 2 or 3 of Nightmare. And it's fought his way back in. Again, whether it's the force fields, whether it's the control, the focus firing. Oof. Cyan tries to dive in, is punished for it. And Nightmare, now that he's rebuilt that War Prism, he can reinforce it. Now we can commit. And this time, no sentries, no force fields. We dive on top of the Immortals. We focus down one. We focus down the other. And now there's nothing left here for Cyan. Only gateway units, only Stalkers, and that is not going to be enough. Not against this army of Nightmare. And GG is going to get called. And Nightmare takes the series 2-0. Advancing on to the semifinals. GG. Oh my god. GG, well played. That was a bit back and forth. Not gonna lie, Cyan had momentum at some point. He had the advantage when he was able to take map control, when he was able to force back the army, when he protected his bases and he was able to start asserting his dominance across the map. But yeah, his push was a little bit lackluster. Some of the force fields and some of the control was a little bit lackluster as well. And Nightmare, he was able to, with the defender's advantage, able to take a fight and able to snowball out of control instead. GG. GG, well played. Very impressive performance there from Nightmare. Very impressive stuff. Oh. Do love to see it. I never get why they don't just go charge after Blink versus Immortals. That is commonly done in a longer game, in a game where you actually have like a third base up and running and have like a solid economy to sustain warp-ins. That is usually done if we get a longer game, but in a game like this where it's a lot more chaotic, a little more in your face, our players, they deemed it that they couldn't quite invest into those charge lots and they just had to keep on pumping out Immortals and Stalkers. But yes, typically in a more standard PvP, you transition to charge lots and then we go into Archons, right, to counter the charge lots, and you get into Disruptors, right, you get more of a back and forth. That is true, that is applicable in a more normal game. That's not wrong. But here we had hyper aggression, and yeah, GG, well played. Nightmare does advance on. From here, we're going to be getting into another match, though, another quarterfinals match. It's going to be not a PvP, but a PvT instead. We're going to be loading in to Classic versus Coffee. I was giving some praise to Cyan, and I still want to give praise to Cyan. Don't get me wrong. In that last game, in game number 2, Cyan, there was definitely a moment where he could have taken that as well. Definitely had his own advantages, so you know, there's a world out there where I could easily see an ace match between Nightmare and Cyan. Did go the way of Nightmare. Likewise, we're going to be getting into Classic versus Coffee, and Coffee has also been looking impressive recently. I've spoken about this before, but surprisingly so, Coffee's been doing well, and what I mean by that is that Coffee did retire. He retired at the start of the year. He was on Invictus Gaming, and after the WTL summer season wrapped up for 2022, Coffee did announce his retirement. He left IG and he disappeared for like 2 months. I want to say around 2 months. And then I remember it was during a Kung Fu Cup where I saw Coffee on the bracket for the first time in a long time, and I was like, is that the real Coffee? Is he back? Is he actually competing again, or is this like a one-off thing? And then week after week he'd be there for Kung Fu Cups, for not just Kung Fu Cups, but the ESL weeklies as well. And then it was announced that he joined a new team, that he joined Little Fairy. So yeah, Coffee, he had stepped away for a while, come back, and in his return, he's actually not looking too bad. He was able to have a deep run and come second in the summer season of ESL Masters for the Asia region. He came second only to Oliveira. And even the most recent winter season, Coffee didn't do too badly either. Made it into, I want to say, the top 4, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he's been improving and doing well for himself. We've seen him upset and take down some big names, but now he's up against Classic. Classic, he is top 2 Protoss in Korea. You know, it's Classic and Hero. Those are the 2 Protosses that we really look to in Korea. Obviously, there's more. There's Nightmare, there's Creator, yes, but it does feel like there is a bit of a gap, and the Classic has cemented himself as top 2 in Korea. So this is not going to be easy, but I'm ready for it. I'm excited. Let's go. Let us go. Coffee, of course, if you're familiar with him, you know Coffee as being a very unique player. He often comes up with his own builds. There have been times where he has, I don't want to say shaped the meta, but kind of given inspiration to Clem, to Bjorn, to a lot of these other Terran players, and, you know, given them ideas when it comes to how the meta will shift, and giving them some builds as well. Very unique player. Do love to see him. But here we go, we're getting into game number 1, and spawning in the top left-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the South Korean Protoss player representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Chinese Terran player, the Red Terran representing Team Little Fairy. It is Coffee. Here we go. Again, Coffee at times just has a unique outlook on the game and kind of leads the way here for other Terran players in years past. And I'm ready for it. I'm ready for the Coffee builds. I mean, typically a more creative player out there. We'll see how creative he can be against a player of the caliber of Classic. Again, Classic still coming in as the favorite player, but we shall see. For now, Probe Scout is going to be coming out. It's going to be a Gate, I imagine Gate Cyber into the expansion. Standard opener from Classic. Likewise, Coffee so far going for a Rax expand as well. We are not taking a second Gas Geyser, so we have a much more economic opener here from Coffee. Here we go. I'm gonna force a bit of inefficient mining here, forcing an extra SCV off the mineral line, as Classic is as annoying as possible, delaying that CC. And we should be able to get it here on location, as the probe is forced back. But again, an economic opener so far, which I'm a little bit caught off guard. I was expecting double gas. I was expecting, you know, a faster factory, maybe a faster second factory or a starport. You can go a couple of different directions here in the current meta of TVP, especially with the new Cyclone. A lot of Terran players have been having a lot of fun with it. Have been going for like one base all-ins, proxy factories, mass Cyclone. But for the time being, everything is looking normal. Very much so normal here from Coffee. As he's going to be moving out. Getting across the map with that first Reaper. So far, it does end up running into that Adept. And basically, the goal of this Reaper, as it escapes the clutches of the Adept and regenerates its HP, is to get into the main. We need to see the tech. The tech of Joyce, actually not in the main base, in the natural instead. We have a Twilight Council opening. And again, a really unique position for the Twilight Council as well to try to keep it hidden. We'll see if it works out. With this Twilight Council, this should be a Blink-based opener. There are also Dark Templar as well. Like, DT openers are not unheard of in this matchup, but very uncommon. I don't expect to see that here. As Adept does shade across the map, is looking to get a kill, but alas, does get shut down, does not pick off a Marine or the Reaper. And now we can move out. Now the Reaper is free to move across the map. Coffee able to saturate his natural, get it up and running. Defensive Cyclone is on the way. In case it is a Stargate opener, we will have the Cyclone in the early game to shut down Oracles or Phoenixes. Cyclones in general, solid unit here in the early game of TVP. Very safe way to open. Reaper dips into the main, but there is nothing to see. Tries to knock himself over the wall, but alas, isn't able to. And the Reaper goes down. Ay, ay, ay. Coffee in the dark. Does see an additional gateway, which may be a bit of a tell, but is still in the dark. It's going to be 3 gates in total, so 3-gate blink here from Classic. This is a little bit aggressive. I would say this is a very safe way to open up. A greedy economic opener is to go 2-gate into a 3rd base. This is 3 gateways, just so we have an extra pair of warp ins. We can have a bit of a stronger army here to defend against any kind of drop play, and then eventually we will expand. So just a safe way to open up here from Classic. Meanwhile, Coffee across the map, getting into something very interesting here. We've seen this rise in popularity. It's a 3-1-1 setup. But what's important about this is that we are delaying the starport. We focus on getting our factory, our 2nd and our 3rd racks up and running, so a big prioritization on building up an army of Marines and tanks. We delay the starport. By the time the starport is made, we can make our medevacs, and then we can move out across the map. This is going to be a very committed, very aggressive push here from Coffee. This could also lead into an all-in, as we're working on +1 attack, but more often than not, we can push out here on 2 bases and take a 3rd base behind it. Oh, the Marine. A single Marine waddles into the natural, and we get eyes on the Twilight Council. We see 2 additional gateways. We are aware that it's at least 3 gates, which means we need to set up defensively. And there we go. Sim City is being set up. Tanks are sieging up in the main. Tanks in the natural. Coffee knows that Blink Stalkers should be coming. Again, not as aggressive and not as committed as 4-gate Blink, but, you know, we still have to respect it nonetheless. The Observer does float away, and we won it! Oh! And it looks like we will get the Observer. Nice pick off there from Coffee. Keen Eyes able to shut it down. Meanwhile, Stalkers are moving out. We have Stalkers towards the main, Stalkers towards the natural. Blink is done! Ooh, but Classic going to be losing one of those Stalkers there. 2 Stalkers even. Big pickoffs. Very nicely done by Coffee. In position. Classic just was not expecting that tank. Meanwhile, going to be dropping into the main base. 3rd CC is on the way. As we mentioned, this is not an all-in. Do usually get a 3rd CC, and SCVs are going down. Coffee out of position. Not expecting the Stalkers in the main base. Tank was moved out. And damage is being done. Zero mining here in the main base. Do get the lock on. But the Prism should be keeping this supply pinned back at home. Now, thankfully, Coffee is working on his expansion, so he's not missing his timing necessarily. But he is forced to stay back at home here to defend. Stalker's rocking back up. +1 is about to kick in alongside combat shields. Ideally, we want to push out here, but these Stalkers being such a nuisance stim, and we don't want to waste it. Marines are getting picked off. 5 Marines in total. And yeah, instead of going for a dedicated push, we're going for a drop across the map. Coffee is stuck back at home. Eventually, we'll take his third base. This drop has potential, but it's only a single Marine drop. We can maybe pick off a couple of workers, but Colossus production well underway. We're working on double forge for double upgrades. Prism comes back in. Did you get a lock on? And can we get the up? Can we get the Prism? We can! The Prism does fall. A big pick off there for Coffee. Gets the War Prism. Forces out the army. At the same time, drop into the main. And Coffee, sorry, Classic, not quite in position. Forcing the recall. We get 2 workers. And we're going to go toe-to-toe with these Stalkers, actually. Bold move here from Coffee, going for the probe kills. Probes have forced up the mineral line. We get 2 Stalkers. Charge shots come in. We will clean this up, but this was some very nice damage. That was 2 Stalkers and 9 probes. The Prism across the map. A really good moment here for Coffee. Metamac is going to be shut down, unfortunately. Does run into Stalkers. Coffee back at home, getting his own third base up and running. You can see that he's keeping up in the economy. Worker-wise, he's down 4 SCVs plus mules, means Coffee's evening up. Going for a double drop across the map. Classic taking a 4th base as he moves out. Ooh, Coffee moving out as well, though. This is a little bit awkward. I'm a little bit concerned for Coffee. Classic, he can commit. He can shut down this third and commit to a base trade. Coffee, I don't know if he has enough for this. Recall is on cooldown. We do drop into the main base. Classic, are we committing? We are. He goes for the warp in. We're going for a base trade. We gotta jump into the main. We have a push towards the 4th base, eventually towards the 3rd. Meanwhile, Classic going right for the natural. Peels off a couple of gateway units to go for that 3rd base. And he's already in the production. He ignores the natural, ignores the 3rd. Straight into the main base, camping the production instead. And we're in full base trade mode. Probes are escaping. No! They're escaping, and Coffee not there to stop them, which means Classic, he can throw down a Nexus across the map. He can survive. All these buildings will go down, but Classic, he doesn't care. Buildings are floating. Boys are being pulled as well. Coffee also trying to evacuate. That's a lot of probes to survive, though. Jeez, that's 56 probes. And we will be trading and swapping bases, our main bases, essentially. We do depower everything in the main base. As Coffee is floating over. Again, we should be throwing down a Nexus soon. We need to. As Classic is running out of buildings. Gateways are going down. Meanwhile, at the same time, Classic chasing these buildings across the map. And there it is. Pylon is thrown down. And there's that Nexus. Meanwhile, Classic chasing down those loading CCs. Supply-wise, what do we have to work with? Pretty comparable army supplies. We have 2 tanks and a minefield. Oh my god. There is potential. Bunkers are on the way. If Classic pushes into this army, as the CC is going to be burning down, if Classic pushes into this position, then Coffee could defend. He could take a fight. But right now, Classic is focusing on shutting down all of these buildings. They're trying to migrate. They're trying to migrate over, but alas, they're being caught out. Classic, double expanding. He's got the money for it. Base has been spotted here by Coffee, and this is forcing Classic to respond. Oh, that's going to be a cancel on the Nexus. Coffee continuing with his drop. He does come across the final base. And the probes. He finds every single worker, but he cannot do anything about this. The army's in position. Ooh, and these Marines, they're being cleaned up. We can't afford to throw away supply. That's that many more Marines not a part of the main fight. Now, Coffee, he has evacuated a lot of his production. His CC is getting up and running. He's going to be able to get his first base up as well. But Classic has a better economy, and I do want to say that he has a stronger army. He's got to extend Thermal Lance, 2 Colossi, 10 Stalkers, 15 Zealots. Again, I think best case scenario is if Classic does overextend into this position, but I don't think he should. I don't think he will. Drop comes back in. Got 4 more workers. Coffee being such a nuisance here, forcing back the army. Meanwhile, Coffee is heavily supply blocked. Both players are, so before we can really start making anything, we have to work on depots and pylons. Classic triple expanding, getting a natural and a 3rd base up. Long distance mining as well. In a longer game, Classic, he will be able to snowball out of control with this better economy. Colossus drop is coming in. Uh-oh. Colossus has arrived. We don't have any Vikings. No anti-air, forcing the army to respond. SCVs are going down. At the same time, oh! The medevac does get cleaned up as well. An expensive loss once again there for Coffee. Losing a medevac, losing a couple of marines. He does get a couple of probes, two workers. But as the dust does settle, again, both players are going to try to get back into their production. Classic going to be moving out. Again, that drop still going to be threatening the main base. Coffee finally free from the supply block. Oh my. Oh my god. Classic almost losing that prism. Coffee wants it. He wants the prism. No, the bait. Oh, loses the full medevac. Ay, ay, ay. Not like this. I don't blame Coffee. I don't blame him. That would have been amazing if he shut down that prism, but oh my god, does pay a massive price for it. I'm expecting Clashing to be there. Mine goes off. Not a bad winter mine shot. The Marauders, once again, they want that. They want that Colossus. Classic, though, he dives into the main base, gets on top of the production. It'll be an awkward position here for Coffee. Does force Classic out of the main. The force fields! We get 2 Marauders. Again, every unit counts here, and Coffee's being picked apart. Losing drops, losing Marauders. He's building up a Viking count, and that is going to help when it comes to dealing with the Prism and dealing with the Colossus. But we're on 3 bases. We're on 3-base economy. And now Classic can focus on rebuilding his gateways, and there it is, the gateway explosion. Like already Classic has the supply advantage, and soon it's going to get even larger. Gateways are on the way. In this position, we do need to go for a bit of a Hail Mary play. We've been trying to, right? Like, the drops earlier were doing well, at least partly. It's just a rough road to recovery here for Coffee. And Classic, he's staying close to home. Still nearby, still has a recall available. Final refinery goes down. SCV Scout does confirm the army's position. And it's going to be all or nothing here for Coffee. I mentioned before that, again, best case scenario is if his opponent pushes into him. Scan reveals full saturation. Coffee is at least aware of 2 bases, but there are 3. Defending fire! Oh, nice Sunburrow there. We're getting another base. A ninja base. 4th is on the way. And the boys are being pulled. It's all or nothing here for Coffee. Pearson moves out. Classic is in position in the center of the map. And he does spot the army. He is aware this should trigger a Zealot counterattack. Oh, we could just go for the base. No, we could just go for the base trade. The tanks are caught on siege. The Colossi, they're going ham on this army as well. The Vikings, they should be able to focus at least one of them down. They get 1 Colossus. Meanwhile, Zealots, they're on top of the production, camping the Raxes, and Coffee is committed. Now, Coffee, he does have SCV, so he can throw down some buildings with his army. There we go. He floats away his CC immediately, realizes what's going on. And we have the 2nd base trade of the game. Of course we do. CC's gonna be floating away. We do this time catch all the probes. Now, a lot of workers are going to be going down. Dark Shrine on the way. It just now finished. No shot. And they're the Dark Templar. They're being warped in. We do shut down the Dark Shrine. But there's DTs. And we don't have a scan. We straight up just don't have a scan. We don't have a way to deal with the Invisible Man. Recall's on the way. And Coffee is running out of steam. He has to land this orbital to have a scan. And then we'll soon have one, but it may not even matter. It is. Takes down the Dark Templar. Classic getting ready for a surround. Oh, as that CC is taking a lot of damage. Going for another big warp in here. Coffee trying to hold on. For all he knows, this is the only mining base. Zelt's going to be coming in. Good tank shots, but we get a full surround at this point. And Classic will clean this up. He will shut this down and look to take a lead in this series. GG gets called. Classic takes game number 1. GG. Oh my god. Again, the base trade had a lot of potential, here for Coffee, but unfortunate that he missed all the workers, right? Classic, he was so on top of that base trade. Remember, when the base trade started, Classic, he ignored the third, he ignored the natural, he went straight for the main base, camping the production. Meanwhile, we saw Coffee having a slower approach. He did have a drop in the main, and he was pushing towards the fourth and the third, but there was a big opening, a big avenue where Classic, he was able to evacuate every single one of those workers. He evacuated 56 probes. 56 probes, which meant that when he did throw down his Nexus, immediately he had full saturation. He could double, triple expand. Like, he could very easily get back into his economy here after the base trade, and Coffee couldn't. Coffee, he was kind of struggling to catch back up, to keep up with his opponents. Regardless, though, GG. It was a solid game nonetheless, as we are going to be getting ready for game number 2. Here we go. So we load in to Solaris. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Solaris, we have the South Korean Protoss player representing Twisted Minds, leading the series 1-0. It is Classic. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Chinese Terran player, the Red Terran representing Team Little Fairy. It is Coffee. Here we go. TVP does continue. For the most part, Classic was in control of that last game, at least leading into the base trade. The base trade things did get chaotic, and even during the base trade, there were moments for Coffee, right? Like catching the Warp Prism, catching the Colossus as well. Imagine if he had caught it, we would have seen maybe a different game there. I'm not sure if a different outcome, but things would have progressed differently. There was potential there. Regardless, for now, we're getting into our openers. Just like the previous game, Classic is going to be going for a Gate Cyber Expand. Standard opener here from our Protoss player. Likewise, from our Terran, we do not have a second Gas Geyser. Looking like a Rax Expand 2 games in a row. Economic openers. Okay. Coffee. You have my attention. So yeah, once again, I'm a little bit surprised. I feel like Coffee is known for his more aggressive styles, and at least in this series, he's focusing on his economy, at least in the early game. Oh, ooh, as he does get a kill on the probe. Nicely done here by Coffee. A bit of miscontrol from Classic. He does get caught out. Not the biggest of deals, but a nice little win here from Coffee. This does mean that Classic is going to have a harder time going for the rescout. Usually you pull back with that probe, you keep it hidden from this Reaper, and then you come back in for a follow-up scout to get an eye on what the follow-up is, like 2 racks or a 3 rack setup, a 1-1-1, a faster third TC. That probe does have value, so yeah, nice pick-up. Nice pick-up from Coffee. As Reaper is going to be zooming across the map, gets eyes on the expansion. is going to, at some point, try to dive into the main. For now, is aware of the Adept. Adept is in position. Coffee not going for it yet. And 2 games in a row, Twilight Council. Twilight Council opener here from Classic. I love that he's mixing up the location of the tech as well. In game 1, it was in the natural. Here in game 2, it's in the main. Oh! Ooh, as the Reaper goes down, did we get eyes on the tech? We barely did see the Twilight Council. Ooh, barely in time. Thankfully. Behind this, we have a Hellion on the way. We're only making 1 Hellion. This is designed to scout. And as opposed to the previous game, okay, winding it back. Remember, game 1, Coffee did go for a 3-1-1 setup. He prioritized getting 3 Raxes before the starport. This time it's a 1-1-1 instead, which means this after this Hellion, we could get into Widow Mines and yeah, go for a mine drop instead. So Coffee is mixing it up. That Epsay will threaten that mineral line. Hellion goes across the map, just ignores it. Again, the goal for this Hellion is to actually get into the natural, dive into the main, get some scouting information, get an eye on how many gateways there are. As the Widow Mine has arrived, Hellion across the map is denied entry into that natural. Oh! We get a full wall off, and the Hellion, it has to back off. Meanwhile, the Adepts, they kill 1 SCV on the low ground. Hellion does survive, just barely on 2 HP. But again, really good SimCity here. Good positioning from Classic to wall off to deny the Hellion. Oh, and this is a brutal trade. We're cleaning up the Marines. We do get one. Oh no! We get one of the Adepts, but the Hellion does get shut down. Not like this. Behind this, there's that mine drop moving out. And what do we have to work with? We have 1 gateway in the main base. We have 2 gateways here at the natural. So just like last game, Classic going for a 3-gate blink opener into a 3rd base. Just like game number 1. Meanwhile, ooh, he wasn't paying attention, and this Adept is going to go down. Coffee getting something for his troubles here. Meanwhile, the drop is slipping in towards that natural. Again, 2 Widow Mines, we have potential, but this probe, I believe, saw the mine drop. Classic is in position. He isn't quite ready in his main base, but he has Stalkers here at the natural. Ooh, does force back the drop. And interesting, Classic. This time, instead of going into Colossi, remember it was 3-gate blink into Robotics Bay into Colossus production. This time, Templar Archives. We could be heading towards Storm. Let's go. A much more, in a way, flexible style. It's a little bit risky just because High Templar are so fragile, and Storms aren't consistent splash damage. You know, we've only got a handful of them. But it does pack a punch, and we could even try to go for some Storm drops later on as well. For now, though, Charge is on the way. Templar Archives finishing up. Charged Archon is going to be the combination of choice alongside the Blink Stalkers. Ooh, Coffee investing into Interference Matrix. A little bit unfortunate here. There is Storm that we were talking about. Storm is on the way. Interference Matrix is amazing against Robo-based openers. If there was Colossus, then Interference Matrix would be amazing. You could shut them down. A little bit less impactful against Storm. So maybe because of game 1 and because everything looks the same as game 1, Coffee, he's just assuming that Colossi are going to be on the way, so that's why he's investing into these Ravens. As we can see, not going to be as effective. We can still harass with them. We can still, you know, use them to shut down this Observer, to go for auto-charge harass. There is still value in the Raven, but a little bit less value in investing into Interference Matrix. As Coffee doesn't have confirmation of the follow-up tech. Still assuming that it's Colossus, doesn't know that it's Storm. Meanwhile, behind this, working on our armory. Oh. Third TC is on the way, so Coffee is not going all in. He's looking to expand and take a 3rd base. Scan into the main doesn't reveal much, actually. The High Templar are hugging the edge of that scan. We do see a Forge, but that's really all we see. So a bit of an unfortunate scan. Coffee is getting ready to push out. Observer in position. That mine drop still lying in wait. Waiting for the opportunity to strike. As we are committing. I mentioned before the armory as well. It's a little bit too soon for +2, so we are committing quite hard to these mine drops. A little bit later, but detection will be required to deal with them. Oh, but that medevac, it's so low. Coffee is going to be pushing out. Meanwhile, mine drop towards the main. Meanwhile, this game, Classic, has been a lot more passive. He's taking a 4th base. Drop comes in. Oh, only one Widowmine does get burrowed. And we're going to be able to get a decent shot off. Getting 2 workers. Now we know that we need detection. Observer is now on the way. At the same time, here comes the main army towards the 3rd base. Classic out of position. The mine drop comes in. It does react in time. Does pull back. Coffee's going to be holding on to his 3rd. Mine drop coming towards the natural instead. We do borrow, and it looks like we will get some workers. Big connection, 7 probes in total. And those mines are going to reset, but at the same time, Coffee forces back the main army, and... Classic forces back the main army. Coffee, he is in some trouble. Oh, the mines. Up! Up! Can we get one shot off? We can! Ooh, 14. Let's go. 14 workers go down. Coffee, he takes a worker lead. He can take his 3rd base as well, but Classic is pushing. And what is scary is that Classic hasn't stormed yet. He has so many storms left over here in these High Templar. He's going to have so much splash damage. Classic, he also has a 4th base, so he can make 4 probes at a time. He's taken a lot of damage, but he can also remake it, and... Oh boy, here we go. I see a lot of blue. A lot of blue in the next couple of seconds. A lot of storms, Papi. Here we go. As the storms are going to be zoning back the army. The boys are being pulled, but we have so many storms available, and we're going to blanket everything. Oh, God. A good EMP towards the end, but we get another storm. Archons are on the way. What is left over? We still have Immortals, plenty of Stalkers, a big warp into Zealots. 28 SCVs go down, and Classic, he can just mow through this army and get into the main. Ay. There's a tank on the high ground, a tank in position, but it's not going to be enough. GG gets called. And Classic will snowball out of control, taking game number 2 and the series 2-0. GG. GG, well played. The mine drop wasn't too bad, and again, Coffee actually got ahead economically. He had a worker advantage there towards the end as he was attempting to take a 3rd base. But the problem wasn't the economy, it was the main army. The main army of Classic. Again, we mentioned that investing into that Raven didn't really help too much towards the end there. Wasn't really able to add or influence too much in that final fight. And because the Widowmines were spent to harass, we didn't have Widowmines for the main army to deal with the Zealots, to deal or to even deter the main push. The Widowmines, they were spent elsewhere, so the main army was that much weaker for Coffee, and again, he couldn't keep up against, what was that, like 8 storms? Like that was a lot of storms, Papi, a lot of storms. Oh my god. With that, GG, well played. Classic will take the series 2-0 and advance on to the semi-finals. Let's go. And when it comes to the semi-finals, we have them both ready for us. So we casted Nightmare earlier. Nightmare advances on to face off against Dark in the semi-finals, and Classic advances on to face off against Cure in the semi-finals as well. So we have a ZVP and a TVP ready for us. Now, we are going to be going on a short break. I do need a moment to... we've reached the halfway mark. We're at the semis, so it's going to be both semifinals, then the finals. I do need a moment to set up the casting tool and set up all the matches, so we'll take a moment to set everything up. So take this moment to hydrate our hydras. Get some water, get some snacks, go to the bathroom, and posture check. No slouching. No slouching in the chat, and yeah, we'll be back in a couple of minutes with the semifinals of KSL, the Korean StarCraft League, week number 38. We'll be back soon. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that brutal OST because we have returned with the semifinals of the Korean StarCraft League week number 38. We just wrapped up with a couple of those quarterfinals matches, and they were a lot of fun. Again, big shout out to some of the players that did end up falling there. You know, Coffee and Cyan did pose a threat to Nightmare and Classic, but weren't able to stop them. And now we are here in the semifinals. Classic just took down Coffee, and now he's up against Cure in those semis in another PvT. The PvTs, they do continue at least for now. Again, after this series, we'll be getting into Dark versus Nightmare in a ZVP. So if you want some Zerg action, we have yet to feature a Zerg here tonight, but we will get into that after this series does conclude. So we'll get there. We'll get there. We at least have one of each race here in the semis. And here we go. This is going to be quite a brutal one as well. Earlier, Classic was the favorite player coming into that best of 3 against Coffee, but here in this PvT, a little bit less so. Cure arguably has some of the best Terran versus Protoss in the world. This is where he thrives, as he is one of the best Terrans in South Korea. But here we go in the top left-hand corner of Hard Lead. We have the South Korean Protoss player representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Terran player, the Red Terran representing Team Liquid. It is Cure. And Cure, newly acquired player on Team Liquid. I say newly acquired. It's been like a month or so since he's been on the team, and it's been great to see him thrive as well, and of course be incorporated into the team, compete for them in WTL. Oh, looks like there was a bit of a pause at some point in this game, but thankfully, did clear up in the end. Oh, now that we're coming back from the break, just to reiterate as well, this is a replay cast. I spoke about it earlier, but the events of this tournament did take place on Saturday. Unfortunately, we were unable to cover this live because we had just wrapped up the IEM European closed qualifiers, and it was a long qualifier. It lasted 6 hours. I was not expecting it to last that long, and I was just completely worn out after the European qualifiers. I passed out. By the time I woke up, the KSL was already underway, so I did have to get some rest because WTL was starting up in a couple of hours at the time, so we had to cast World Team League. It means that we missed out on KSL Live, but that is why we are here to catch up via those replays. We'll see how this all did turn out. For now, the probe does get across the map. It's going to be a little bit of an annoyance here, but the SCV does manage to throw down that CC just in time. We get our base up and running. Again, a rack to spend economic opener here out of Cure, not going double gas. Very common here amongst the Koreans. Players like Cure, Bjorn, Maru, more often than not, they do just go for more economic based openers. Previously in the meta, you know, a year ago, for example, double gas openers were a lot more commonplace in the previous map pool, even 2 map pools ago, but that has since changed. As likewise, Classic going for his own gate cyber expand. Everything is by the book so far. Everything is as it should be. Now, previously we saw Classic open up Blink, open up Twilight Council every game against Coffee, and likewise we have a Twilight Council on the low ground. It is going to be spotted by the Reaper. Cure, he sees all, he knows all, he's aware of the potential Blink. What he doesn't know is how many gateways. For the time being, currently unaware of how many gateways are going to be on the way. We don't know either. But eventually he's going to have to try to pivot back into the main base to get a read on how aggressive or how economic Classic is being. Likewise, behind this, we do have the Adept getting across the map, going to be denying mining time here at the Natural. Hellion is on the way, and we are getting into a 1-1-1. Similarly to the previous game, we should be seeing a Hellion into Widow Mines for a bit of a mine drop. A big role for that, or a big reason for that, is just going to be for scouting information, but we'll see if that's going to be the case, as a Hellion has arrived, and there it is, the mines are on the way. Once we get a couple of extra Marines, we should be able to deal with this Adept, and there we go, the Adept is forced out. We can go back to mining here at the Natural base. Behind this, Classic investing into the rest of his tech. We have a Robo second gateway on the way. There's a third gateway, so 3-gate Blink for the time being. And yeah, Classic, he seems to be quite fond of this. I mean, it's a very comfortable opener. As we mentioned before, it's not overly aggressive, likewise not overly greedy. You know, it's just right, just down the middle. And with this, Classic is going to be feeling pretty comfortable here. good Sim City. He does have basically a full wall off with one unit in position. Means that the Hellions cannot get into the natural. They should not get into the natural. Meanwhile, there's that mine drop being set up. 2 winter mines alongside the medevac as we do zoom across the map. You're looking for scouting information more than anything, bearing in mind that killing workers here is a bonus for these winter mines. More importantly, they're just trying to get a read on how many gateways and on the follow-up tech as well. Additional gases, additional upgrades, Dark Shrine. Here's just looking for information. Stalkers, meanwhile, are in position. We have 5 Stalkers here in the main. Likewise, War Prism is on the way as well. Here, he does see the army, he does spot these Stalkers, so the job is going to be stuck here outside the main base. At the same time, Hellions, they try to test the waters here at the natural, but we have a full wall off, we have an Adept in position, but we do get eyes on the pylon. This is a tell that Classic intends to expand. This is a tell that this is not a 4 gates. You still expand with 4 gates, but the expansion is a little bit later. Regardless, we saw the gateways here on the low ground, so Curious is getting ready for Blink Stalkers. We have a bunker on the low ground, we have a tank in the high ground as well. Cure, he is ready to receive. Hellion does spot the move out. Job still not pulling the trigger. Cure still working on that second tank though. So a little bit of a vulnerable situation here where Cure only has 1 tank in between his 2 bases. SCV does confirm the location of the army. Our boys are being pulled. We have to go for the repair. 2 SCVs go down, and so far we are holding on at the same time. Ooh, did have the Hellion dive in. Widowmine still waiting to go into the main as well. So far, Cure is holding, but we are forcing a lot of lost mine time here with these SCVs. Mine drop was still trying to find a way in. Still unable to. The second tank has arrived. Suddenly the defense is looking a little bit easier, and there we go. We go back to mining. We have 1 tank for each base. We have the bunker, Marines, they're rotating over. Meanwhile, Classic is going straight for the mineral line. Yeah, straight for the main base. SCVs are going down. Tank a little bit too far back, a little bit out of range. The boys have to be pulled away. That's going to be 2 dead SCVs for now. At the same time, we dive onto the low ground. We dive onto the tank. A big pick off there for Classic. And Cure, he is being pulled apart. Adepts, they shade in. Uh-oh. Bunker's going to be going down. There is no repair. We should eventually clean this up, but losing the tank is huge. And we're getting even more workers here in the natural. So far, 6, 7, 8 dead SCVs. 9 even. You know, on the main base, the War Prism still alive, still threatening a dive. Widowmine still looking for a way in, but Classic has been quite vigilant here with his army. He blinks, he sees, he keeps up. And Cure is on the back foot. Now, specifically, because 1 tank went down, that means that the eventual push, like, eventually this army's going to be moving out across the map, but with 1 less tank, and that is impactful. Pick up another SCV. Widowmine still not able to make it into that main base. Cure now is able to keep up, but did lose a lot of SCVs in the process. 3rd CC is on the way, so Cure is not all in. We do have a Viking in production to help deal with these, with this War Prism. But behind all of this, Classic, he's fully saturated, or getting fully saturated on 3 bases. Robot production well underway. Colossus, Extenthomo Lance. Classic, he's looking comfortable. And finally, Cure is breaking free. We go for a scan, we get eyes on, I think the Colossus has it, just barely not as it pops out. But Cure, he has to do something to counter damage. He has to get something done here. We have Stim, we have Combat Shields, we have +1 and Concussive Shell. The Colossi in between the bases, but we Stim in! We're going straight for the mineral line, straight for the probes. And we're going to be able to get some at least. There we go, 4 workers go down, 5 even. And we pick up, we get the hell out of there. Not too bad. Only losing a handful of units. That was 3 Marines for 5 probes. The mine drop still not able to find a way in. Oh, the drop though. Classic, he's looking to hunt it down. Looks like he will be able to get at least 1 medevac, a full medevac as well. Ay, ay, ay. The punish is real. Suddenly, both medevacs go down. This drop was not worth it here for Cure. Still up against the wall. And Classic is just all over him. How many Colossi do we have? We're up to 3. We've hit critical mass. 3 Colossi have hit the field. And this means that Classic, he will not allow Cure to expand. Cure, he's trying to take a third base. Classic doesn't have to push into the natural. All he has to do is contain his opponent and deny the third over and over again. Meanwhile, fourth is on the way. Classic, he has momentum. He has map control. He has his 3 Colossi. We have a Templar Archives behind this for Storm, for Archons. We're actually pushing in. The Unsiege! No shot. The tanks, they were unsieged at the wrong moment. Tanks are going to be going down. We have an anti-armor missile on the Colossus. No disables. No interference matrix, unfortunately. Yeah, the tank count was reset. We take down the Viking as well. And without tanks, Classic, he can push in. He can commit. He can dive into the natural base. For now, picking up some depots, denying the CC. And GG gets called. Cure, he knows that there's no way out of this. And Classic takes game number 1. Ooh, GG. Oh my god. Very nice play there from Classic, and yeah, he just was all over Cure there when it came to his, of course, initial Blink Stalker harass, when it came to keeping up with the Widowmine drop. Remember, we were never able to unload those Widowmines. We tried desperately, multiple times. We looked over and Cure, he was just trying to pivot around, rotate around, trying to unload in some kind of mineral line, but no damage was dealt. Likewise, the amount of damage that he sustained was just becoming too much. It was 9 SCV kills, a tank as well. It was already some brutal losses there for Cure, and he wasn't really able to reciprocate that damage. And when he tried to break free, when he tried to go for the drop, he was punished for it. Oh, GG. Again, really solid game there from Classic. And now we're getting into game number 2. Gonna be on Oceanborn. Let's go. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the Red Protoss representing Twisted Minds. Leading the series 1-0, it is Classic. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Terran player representing Team Liquid. Down in the series, he needs to fight back here and now. It is Cure. That is an early SCV. That should be leading into an eBay block here from our Terran player. Okay, this is a very powerful move here on Oceanborn. A very common move on Oceanborn as well, as no, it's not an eBay. We're just going straight for the racks. Never mind. I didn't notice that we hadn't thrown down that racks back at home, so we're going for a proxy in the natural base of Classic. Again, Cure having a really hard time in the mid-game against our Protoss player, so we're avoiding the mid-game entirely here, looking to gain a lead early on. So Reapers are looking to snowball out of control. This is going to be a very tense moment here for Classic once the first Reaper does reveal itself. Meanwhile, Classic going for the expansion. Or getting ready for the expansion even. Cure looking to turn the tables here on his opponent. But now it's going to be a Gate Cyber into Nexus. And we'll see if Classic does end up checking his natural base. But now the Rax is finishing. Classic not going to be checking though. Goes to the expand. Here comes that first Reaper. Now this SCV is going to be sticking around for a bunker. We should be seeing a bunker behind the mineral line to deny mining time as well. First Reaper should be going for the main base, looking for rope kills. And once the first unit comes out, the Reaper is going to be zoned back towards the natural base and wreaking havoc here as well. We still don't see. Oh god, finally we do get eyes on the bunker. We try to get on top of it as well. How good is the control of the RNG for Cure? There we go, the Reaper has arrived. This bunker will finish. Stalker being chroned out as we speak. We need that Stalker ASAP. But before that happens, we're going for the mineral line. We're going for some rope kills. Classic has to be very careful, has to pull back those weakened probes. So far, oh, does lose a second probe and a third. Ay, this is becoming a bit too much. Reaper does rotate back towards the natural. And again, we've killed 3 workers, and now we deny mining here at the natural base as well. We're going for the SCV. Go for that SCV. Does barely survive. Behind this, we have a factory. Cyclone production has commenced. Cury's looking to snowball out of control, and there's a lot of potential in this Cyclone. Again, Oceanborn has a very short rush distance by ground. Cure looking to take advantage of that. Classic trying to camp the production even. And he should be able to get the Marine. Up! The Marine makes it! The Marine does make it in. I can't say the same for the Reaper. The Reaper was shut down. Here we go. Cyclone is on the way. This Nexus is taking some damage. We don't have a shield battery. Uh-oh. No shield battery available. That Rack's taking a lot of damage. But again, the Cyclone is on the way. This is becoming too much. Stalker's trying to soak some of that damage. You do have a fourth Stalker on the way. Probes are being focused down. And with the help of this Cyclone, we can go for the Stalkers. We go for the probes even. Racks will fall. Cyclone did distract those Stalkers for a moment. Yeah, well, more damage is being done. The probes are being pulled into the bunker. Looks like the Cyclone barely does survive. The probes are going down. That's going to be 5, 6 more probes. And this is getting out of hand. Far too out of hand. The bunker will finally burn down. No salvage. Meanwhile, the Cyclone, no shot. Second Cyclone arrives. You take down the Stalker. We're down to 2 Stalkers left. 2 Stalkers are remaining. Warp gate is done. We can only warp in 1 unit. Sorry, 3 units at a time. We're going for maybe even harass, actually. Okay, we do clean this up. We hope we save the Nexus. We save the natural. Classic. Wants to turn this on its head. There we go. We have the warping across the map. He wants to try to be aggressive himself, but Kiri comes across the pylon. Comes across the pylon. These Stalkers are taking a lot of damage already. We get 1. We get 2 Stalkers. And both Cyclones make it out. Good control there. Again, very fortunate that Kira was able to see the warp in. Very good trades. He does pull back. We get the repair. Behind this, getting into a CC, getting into a 1-1-1 setup. Sorry, 2-1-1 setup. Cloak Banshee's on the way. And economically, Classic, he is hurting. Ideally, the Protoss player wants to be ahead in probes. But it's not the case. Oh. Cyclone taking a lot of hits. You have to be careful. Stalker's breaking through that front door. Tank getting sieged. Yeah, with the arrival of this tank, the Stalkers have to back off. So you have to respect it. Again, the Cloak Banshees are on the way. The bold move, we're going for the Cyclone drop. In the face of this army, in the face of all these Stalkers, we're still going for the drop anyway. A very risky move here from Cure. At the same time, the Banshees are moving out. Classic backs off. Again, if the Cyclones were here alongside the tank, Classic knows that he can't really push into this. So he does retreat in the end. Which means the Cyclones are going to wreak havoc here in the mineral line. Doesn't take too many hits at all to kill probes. Immediately 2 workers go down, 4 workers go down, and we're going to get 6. 7 even. Ay, ay, ay. And again, we don't have Blink. Don't have Blink. Don't have a way to keep up. And we're not done. That's 7 dead workers. Classic trying to go for a 3rd base. Meanwhile, here comes the Cloak Banshee. And we do not have detection, by the way. Oh, no. No detection is available. Robo is I mean, we have a forge for cannons, I guess. We can maybe throw down some cannons. Eventually, we'll have an observer when this Robo finishes. But until then, here comes the Banshee. We're going straight for the Stalkers, even. Oh, my God. Medevac goes down. We get the Stalkers. And the Banshee can go ham on this army. Oh. Actually, sorry. We canceled Cloak. My mistake. Cloak was on the way, but we canceled it. Oh, my God. If we didn't, we could have gone ham. We no, not gonna lie. Cloak was so close to finishing, but here he opts to cancel it in the end, which means Classic, he's holding. He's holding onto his main base. Is making cannons. I'm pretty sure Classic he may have seen. Did he? Yeah, he did see the researching tech lab. So maybe that's why Kira decided to cancel. Cannons are on the way. Classic believing he needs the cannons, and really he doesn't. So in a way, damage is being done, but there could have been a little bit more. Just saying. As Kira setting up on 2 bases. I'm loving the safety turret as well. So in case there are DTs, Dark Templar, Kira would be ready for it. Being stable here on 2 bases. 3 tanks are already up and running, going for a medevac drop towards the main. Classic. Do we have much at home? We have 1 Stalker left back at home. And we're investing everything else here in the push. Charge is just now finishing up. But the Sim City... Oh my god, not just the Sim City, but the positioning of the tanks as well. These chargers, they cannot push in. They can deny a third, but they cannot break into the natural. And we may force a recall. Yeah, the observer does see the wall. Immediately, Classic, he backs off. Drop is coming in. Not quite, we do pull back. Classic looking for another angle of attack. We go for the scan, we get eyes on the missing army, which means we can go right for those probes. I'm loving the angle of attack as well. No way to evacuate. Probes being forced over towards the left-hand side. We force a recall as well, and we drop into the main. Cure looking to pull apart his opponent. Classic, remember, he skipped Blink to go into charge. 6 dead workers. Meanwhile, because of the recall, that means that Cure can expand. He can take this third base. It's a delayed third from Cure, but, you know, eventually he can get it up and running. As Classic is pushing out once again. Remember, recall is on cooldown, in case he ever does need it again. He's keeping his stalkers back at home. Should be okay. Observer is spotted. Classic, threatening a counterattack. Curious going to be pulling back. As he moves out, the pylon does spot the army. We're going for the Zealot counterattack, but we have tanks in position. We have our tanks. We're going to try to bypass them, going the long way around here because of the wall. Oh my god. The Sim City is brutal. Good hold position micro here on the SCVs, forcing some friendly fire though. Oh my god, a lot of SCVs are going down. The tanks killing workers. Not like this, but we're committed to the attack. And there's no splash damage, forcing the overcharge. The tanks killed more workers than the Zealots, I'll be honest there. I mean, Sorry, the tanks killed more SCVs than the Zealots, is what I meant to say. Meanwhile, good kiting here again. There's just not much here to defend. Zealots, they get annihilated by the bio. We're hitting with +1 with Stim. We're getting on top of the army. Overcharge did run out. And GG gets called. Cure looking to tie up this series, looking to force the ace match. GG. GG, well played. We are going the distance. We're going all the way to game 3, which is what we expect between these two players. Again, Classic and Cure, they're some of the best of their respective races in Korea, so we expect it to go to the ace match, not to be a one-sided series. And which way will it go? Whew. As we are getting into game 3. Here we go. We are loading on in. Again, that last game, Cure doing a great job just keeping that hidden, keeping the proxy hidden and snowballing out of control. Classic also, to be fair, not taking that proxy too seriously. If you remember, he didn't go for your typical shield battery to defend your natural, which meant that that bunker survived for so much longer than it otherwise would. So a bit of a greedier response there from Classic, was punished for it. But here we go. We're getting into game number 3, the ace match. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Alkyone, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the blue Protoss representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the South Korean Terran player, the red Terran representing Team Liquid. It is Cure. Here we go. Oh my god, and Cure this time is going to be doubling down. Game number 2. Oh no, he gets scouted! No shot. This time committing to a proxy 2 racks, but he gets shut down, and that's it. GG gets called. Oh, not like this. This is not how it's meant to end, and just like that. Oh my god, Cure risking it all on a proxy 2 racks, gets scouted immediately. Feels bad, man. And just like that, Classic advances on to the grand finals. GG. GG, well played. The power of the probe, the power of scouting. And I mean, it makes sense for Classic to scout as well, especially after game 2, right? Like game 2, he was proxy racks. So, you know, that was on the mind. He was checking. He does come across it. He shuts it down. And yeah, especially if we're committing to a proxy 2 racks like that, very difficult to recover from. Very difficult. And GG. GG, well played. It ended before it really began. I feel like we were robbed a little bit. I feel like we were robbed a little bit of a good game between these two. I would have loved to have like sunk my teeth into a solid mid game between Cure and Classic. It would have been amazing, would have been beautiful. Unfortunately, not something that we're getting here. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. But at the same time, it's, you know, it's the risk you take when you go for a proxy like that. It is the risk you take. GG. GG, well played. Classic advances on. He's the first player to advance on to the grand finals, and he's going to be facing off against the winner of our next series. It's either going to be Dark or Nightmare. Let's go. Let us go. New Cyclone, OP. I like the new Cyclone. I think it has its place. We've seen it pop off from time to time, like I think in Home Story Cup, right, or even before that. Like we've seen Mass Cyclone tear Zerg players apart at times. We've seen Cyclones have their place in a lot of matchups, actually. I think TVT, it's pretty interesting. We see where we commit up to like 10 Cyclones in Terran versus Terran, just because if you slow down in Cyclone production, you can die. We've seen that a lot between Cure and Clem, for example, or Bunny as well, and Björn. So Cyclones are a big part of early game TVT, and against Protoss as well. They're pretty important in the early game, just to defend and also harass as well. Mass Cyclone isn't really a thing against Protoss, but you know, a couple of Cyclones early on do keep you safe. Oh, and give you some aggressive potential. But now we're getting into our next matchup. No Cyclones here, only Protoss and Zerg as we load into game 1, as we load into Alcyone. Let's go. Here we go. Could have still killed the second Nexus with a Cloak. Yeah, I do believe that there was potential with Cloak. I understand the logic behind cancelling it. Remember, Cloak was scouted. Like Classic, he barely did see the researching tech lab on the starport. So Cure assumed that Classic would have detection in time for it, which is why he cancelled it. It was a wrong assumption, but he just assumed the Classic would be ready for it. So I understand the logic there. As we're getting into game number 1 in our second semifinals of the tournament, and spawning in the top right-hand corner of Alcyone, we have our South Korean Zerg player representing Dragon Kaizi Gaming. It is Dark. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss, the blue Protoss player representing Matcherino Esports. It is Nightmare. And this is a bit of a rematch. We've seen a lot of aggression. Yep. Oh my, it's happening again. No shot. He's doing it again to Nightmare. Okay, so for those of you that were here a couple of days ago, you would be getting some deja vu. So we casted Dark versus Nightmare in ESL Open Cup Asia on Monday. Yesterday, actually. Yeah. We casted Dark versus Nightmare in ESL Open Cup Asia. I think it was in the quarterfinals, or no, it was the semifinals as well. It was the semifinals. It was after Dark beat Stats. He went up against Nightmare in the semis. And Dark did the exact same thing on the exact same map. On Alcyone, Dark, he went for a proxy hatch here outside on this side of the gold minerals, and of course from here Dark eventually went into an all-in. Nightmare tried and failed to punish this. Basically from here Dark, he prioritizes a spine crawler. He gets a spine crawler up and running here at his base. Adept Harass doesn't really do much. He prioritizes his queens here as well, and Nightmare just wasn't able to really stop this gold base from getting up and running, and Dark snowballed out of control. I can't believe that Dark is doing it again on the same map against the same player. So yeah, Dark has been a little bit fond of this, I guess, or maybe just testing it out. Testing out the what he can and can't get away with here. As behind this, Link Speed is on the way. We pull out of gas. Nightmare has yet to scout. Ooh, he has yet to determine what's going on. He's checking the unnatural. Natural, checking the triangular third base location. Sees that there's nothing here, and now he should be checking over towards the gold. And there it is. Nightmare finally does get confirmation, does get eyes on this gold base. Behind this, Stargate is in production. Should be for Oracles. And again, as we mentioned before, the last time we saw these two face off, Nightmare, he did commit to Adept and Oracle Harass, and he was not able to stop this. He was not able to punish this. We'll see if that changes this time. as for now the probe is being chased away by these Lings. Likewise, a Ling slips into the main base as well, just being a massive annoyance here. Can we get a probe? We do get one. We get two. Two workers go down. Big pickoffs. Two workers with two Lings. Massive. And we also scout the tech. We have seen the Oracle that's in production. Immediately, we see Dark. Could be rotating over with his queens. We can, not get a drone. Spore was forced to be morphed. Queens are in position. Lings as well, spreading that creep. Dark taking a third base behind this. This time he's not getting that spine crawler. So, okay, something that's really interesting. Remember, I said that that this, of course, we're covering this because we missed this live. This was taking place, or this did take place on Saturday. On Monday is when we saw Dark defeat Nightmare here on this map. But he did have a bit of a different response on Monday, so I'm curious if it was an adaptation. As the Oracle comes in, we get 2 worker kills before being forced back. The big difference here is that this time there's no spine crawler. That's what I'm noticing compared to the last time we saw this. No Spore either. There it is, Spore now on the way. Roach Warren has been thrown down. So basically, Dark is going to be going for a Roach Ling all-in. Going to be allowing these minerals to really kick in. Nightmare behind this, taking a third. Okay, so he's not making an extra wave of adepts. Only harassing with oracles. Bold move from Nightmare. I'm not sure how I feel about this. To try to go into an economic response instead, Twilight Council is on the way. Roaches are already amassing, and Nightmare hasn't seen this. This is the problem. His oracles have been hyper-fixated on harassing. They haven't been scouting. They haven't been checking the saturation or the tech. And we're waddling the queens. Dark, he's going all in. Nightmare doesn't see this. We have a shield battery on the way. We have a couple of sentries as well. But Nightmare here stopped at 3 oracles. There's no Void Ray. There's no third oracle. Stalker is getting caught out. We force the activation of the Pulsar Beam. Big moment here. Wasting some energy. And here comes the all-in. Nightmare woefully underprepared. Shield battery is going to be targeted down. No overcharge. We have a backup shield battery behind this. Ravagers have arrived. We have those queens for some anti-air. We're going to surround the Vials. Vials don't quite connect. And can we hold? Focus on one of the Stalkers. We get a second Stalker as well. With these Ravagers, yeah, we can file down this shield battery. Looks like we're opting for some secure damage instead. We're going for the third base. We're leaving the natural alone. Makes sense. We're running out of Lings. We do need reinforcements. So we're trying to drag the army out into the open. Shield batteries are out of energy. Do get a couple of force fields. And the Lings, they're dealing with the third base while the Ravagers zone away the rest of the army as well. Nightmare up against the wall. There we go. The third base is going to be going down. And the wall is going to be knocked down as well. We lose the gateway, we lose the cyber core. We can only warp in Zealots to defend. And from here, Dark, he's droning. Like, he's done the damage he needs to do, but he wants more. Pushes on forward. Focuses down the Stalker. This is our Tosis Pylon. No, everything gets Z-power. The shield batteries, the gateway as well. Thankfully, we have 2 more gateways behind this, but the overcharge is wasted. And it looks like Dark has broken through across the map. The Oracle's doing what they can, but we have Queens in position. 1 Oracle falls. We get 3 drones. That's not going to be good enough. And we're getting into the mineral line. GG gets called. Dark will take game number 1. GG. GG, well played. The second time we've seen Dark go for this same build, the same strategy, on the same map, against the same player. GG. GG, well played. Solid game there out of Dark again. So I'm sure Nightmare hasn't encountered this too often. Fun fact, we cast a lot of StarCraft. We cast a lot of StarCraft on this channel. Cast a lot of StarCraft. I see someone in the chat saying, should have banned this impossible, deny the gold. Untrue. So we've cast a lot of StarCraft. When it comes to denying the gold base, we have seen Classic and Hero do this. The difference is, though, that when Classic and Hero probe scout, they actually prioritize checking the gold base. That's the difference here, is that their adaptation, I think I've seen Max Packs do it as well, where you send your first probe first to the gold, then to the natural base. Just because it's more important to make sure, if you know there's a gold base, more important to make sure you're able to scout that than it is to actually force the unnatural natural and block the natural base of your opponent. So that is something that we have seen, something that we haven't seen, that we didn't see here from Nightmare. It did take him a long time to actually see what was happening, and if you're able to scout this ahead of time, you can reactively be aggressive and throw down pylons, throw down a proxy gateway. We saw, I think it was Classic. I think it was Classic in WT. No, not WTL. Classic doesn't play in WTL. I think we saw Classic. His response when he did see a goal base being taken was to just reactively throw down a Forge and Cannon Rush. We've seen that as well. There have been ways, but specifically, we have seen Protoss players adapt and prioritize scouting that gold here on Alkyone. Again, something that we didn't see from Nightmare, and because of that, wasn't able to try to shut it down ahead of time. GG. GG, well played. What I also will say is that so far, the reason why I brought up that we cast a lot of StarCraft here is that Dark is the only player that I've seen take the goal base this way. We've seen players like a Laser, we've seen Raynor as well. I don't know if I've seen Cyril do it, but we've seen them take the goal base as a natural on the other side, right on the right hand side. Dark is for now the first that I've seen take on the left hand side, on the more exposed side of the map, which is crazy, by the way. I'm looking forward to see if it catches on and if other players adopt that and do that and try to do that as well. So far, at least I personally have only seen Dark do it, but maybe other players have done it as well. Wouldn't be surprised. Like, we don't cast like the Wardy events for example, so if it's happening over on Wardy's channel, then we have been missing it. Ooh. Here we go. Can I just kind of... Yeah, that's what I mentioned before. We have seen Cannon Rushes punish it. We have seen it. But from here, we are getting into game number 2. Ooh. Let's go. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have our South Korean Zerg player. Our red Zerg representing DragonKy Z Gaming, leading the series 1-0. It is Dark. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss, the blue Protoss representing Maturino Esports. Down in the series, looking to fight back, it is Nightmare. And thankfully for Nightmare, there is no gold base. There is no gold here on Oceanborn. Dark won't be tempted to take it, but Dark has been hyper aggressive recently in this matchup. If you were here on Monday, if you were here every weekend for KSL and for ESL Cup Asia, you would know that Dark has been very fond of proxy hatches. Whether it's hatch blocking the natural base or going for a 12 pool and going for a hatchery here, very often, very frequently, he goes for it mid-series. So here he's not doing it in game number 2, but if the series progresses, then we may see more of that later on. So yeah, again, Dark, he's very unique in that way. He's a very aggressive player in general. I do see in the chats, I'm a Protoss player, but I gotta say I enjoy watching Dark play. He's very unique as well, right? Like, I know you've got like Cyril, who's like the macro god. You've got Raynor, who's like a little bit of both. I would say that like Raynor's like middle of the road. He's willing to be aggressive as well, willing to go all in. But I know Raynor has been working on his macro specifically. Dark, though, he's very chaotic, very unpredictable. So scouting is paramount when it comes to dealing with Dark. Or you could go the other direction, right? You can go the Hero route, where Hero doesn't prioritize scouting as much, but Hero, he can like meet up with the chaotic nature of Dark and just like gets down and dirty with him. Like Hero's built different in that way, where he just goes like for like 6 Glaive Adept all-ins or goes for like Skytoss rushes and does his own thing, and Dark has to respect it more often than not as well. Regardless, we're settling into this. We are settling in. For now, Hatch Gas Pool, standard opener out of Dark. Important to bear that in mind. Standard opener. Meanwhile, Nightmare across the map going for a Gate Cyber Expand, or Gate Expand into Cyber Core. Stargate is on the way. Nightmare wants to get into his own game this time. Wants to get into the mid game. With this Stargate opener, we should be getting to a 3rd base, and Dark should have a harder time punishing this. Here we go. The Lings of Dark going to be waddling on in. So far, the Adept did move out. Oh, wait, no, sorry. The Adept faked to move out. My apologies. I saw the Shade as well. Dark saw the Shade with the Overlord, so nice mind games here from Nightmare. Going to be able to shut down one of those Lings, but the other does slip in. Again, basically, Nightmare, he faked out a Shade, revealing it to the Overlord, making it look like he moved out, and he will shut down both Lings. As opposed to last game, where Dark was able to kill 2 probes. Dark, he barely does catch wind of the tech, though. He saw the Stargate and the Oracle. So Dark is aware of what's going on. We have a second Queen on the way. Just getting our Queens in position. The Adepts are going to be threatening these mineral lines. Link speed has kicked in, and we do get a surround on one of these Adepts. Ooh. One Adept is going to get shut down. But the other makes it into the main base. We get 1 drone kill. Up. Ooh, and we don't quite get another. 2 Adepts for 1 drone. Not quite worth it there for Nightmare. Again, very unfortunate that he got caught out. Meanwhile, Oracle is making its way across the map. Lings are going to be moving out. Now that we've dealt with the Adepts, that means that we can threaten and delay the 3rd. Dark has arrived. We have a bit of a gateway explosion behind this. This is not of the norm. Oracles are being zoned away, but that is 2 extra gateways before any kind of tech and before the 3rd base. Very peculiar. My eyes are on Nightmare. He's going up to 4 gateways here. Maybe just feeling like he has to spend his resources because his 3rd base is delayed. Twilight Council and a Robo on the way. Okay. Show us what you got. Big delay on the 3rd, by the way. It isn't just 2 gateways before the 3rd Nexus, it's tech as well. So very committed here from Nightmare. Dark, I'm sure, is aware. I'm sure he's wary as well, like recognizing how late this expansion is. Without a Forge, this looks like Glaives, but the Robo is throwing me off a little bit, so it could be something different. I'm still leaning on the side of Glaive Adepts, but with the Robo, this could even be like Immortal, like, Charge. Show us what you got. There it is, yeah, Charge. Charge is on the way. With that Robo, we can start Immortal production. Templar Archives in production as well, so Nightmare looking to be quite aggressive behind this. It's going to take a while for these upgrades to kick in, but this is going to hit like a truck. Okay, again, very committed here from Nightmare. Meanwhile, Oracles, they try to get some damage done across the map. Lings, they come in for another surround, but there's an Oracle to support. Lings are forced back. Dark, doubling down, going for a Baneling Nest. Okay, that is 22 Lings in production. Dark looking to punish and deny this 3rd. And do we make any more drones from here? 53 drones, that's all we have right now. We're not taking additional gases. Just making pure Ling. Soon to be pure Ling Bane. There it is, the Bane bus is upon us. We get caught out. We come across the Banelings. Nightmare, he knows. Immediately. We do have a High Templar on the way. Archons soon to be in production. Archons are going to be amazing against Ling Bane. The Oracles are racing back home. Banelings have been spotted. And the Oracles will be able to focus them down. But at the same time, we have more Banelings on the right-hand side. The Archons, they morph in just in time. We have a shield battery. We have an overcharge. And the Archon will not die. A big deflection. Now Dark Drones. But that was a big commitment. Immediately, Roachworn is now on the way. But he's in some trouble because Nightmare can counterattack. Charge just now finishing up. Where's the War Prism? There we go. It is coming back home. Nightmare going to be reinforcing. Dark desperately trying to get into that Roachworn again. Did skip the Roachworn in favor of the Bane bus, but just was not expecting Archons of all things. Again, Dark, he had no idea what he was up against. Was maybe assuming it was Glaive Adepts because of the delayed base. If that was the case, that makes perfect sense why Dark went for Ling Bane. But against Archons like this, not ideal. Roachworn is finishing. Gonna take a while to get into Roach speed. +1 range on the way. There are still a lot of Lings though. Dark trying to find a way and trying to pull apart his opponent. Shield battery is done. Archons in position on the left hand side. Likewise, we have Archons on the right. So far, a good split of units here from Nightmare. He's able to keep up. He's able to keep up, able to shut this down. And instead of going for a timing, Nightmare, he's transitioning. He's getting a 4th, and he's working towards Blink and +1. I think this is the wise choice. Like, recognizing that his opponent was being very aggressive early on, instead of pushing into the aggression of Dark, he's just taking a defensive route instead, and getting ahead economically. Because Dark cut workers earlier, like, again, he's got some catching up to do. So Nightmare, he's ahead economically. He is ahead. He is moving out on the right-hand side, but we're not going to be committing. We have the Prism to reinforce, yes, but we're keeping most of our army back. Again, we're still waiting on +1 and Blink. But we will be threatening this space. We have plenty of queens in position, and Nightmare is going to back off. Meanwhile, moving out on the right-hand side, could look to deny a would-be hatchery here towards the left. Do catch these lings. Do get the revelation. Meanwhile, Dark going to be joining up to 76. Now refining his army. Lingbane Roach Ravager is the composition of choice. Storm is on the way. Storm could be big. Against Roaches, Storm isn't ideal, but Dark did commit quite heavily here to Lingbane, so Storm has its place. War Prism is moving out. We do get eyes on the lack of the wall here. The rocks have been knocked down. Nightmare should take note of that. Yep, there we go. He's getting ready. He sees the lack of rocks, throwing down a massive field of stasis traps. Again, he is ready for a push. He's ready for an assault. At the same time, Zealot drop being set up. Immortal count slowly getting higher and higher. Should be ideal against the Roaches. We've got the Storm for the Lingbane. Immortals for the Roaches. Stasis traps are being baited out. They do get eyes on the main army. Nightmare getting in position. Again, still keeping his army, his second army on the left-hand side. Hasn't, like, been distracted or didn't overcommit. We're pushing in. The Immortals! Big catch. The Storms, they protect the Immortals, though. One of them's going to be going down. Both of them should go down. Big pickups here from Dark. But he did take some Storms to the face. At the same time, pushing on the right-hand side. But he's going to be running into the Stasis Trap. No! The Stasis do go off, and big connections here. We catch most of the Banelings, most of the Roaches. Dark is going to have to commit. And Nightmare, he is ready for that. The completion of that stasis. The outstasis? Archons are in position. Does shave off a couple of Roaches, but Dark is going to be able to back up. At the same time, pushing in the left-hand side, but there's a backup Immortal. Nightmare, he holds. Doesn't take any economic damage. Looking at the trades here. 69 link. Nice. Took down 69 links, 25 Banelings. What did he really lose? Gateway units and 2 Immortals. The 2 Immortals, that was the big part. But outside of that, a good trade from Nightmare. Cleans up the Banelings. On the right-hand side, we've replaced those stasis traps. They're back up and running. Dark, once again, splitting up his units. He's trying to pull apart his opponent, but it's just not working. And Dark, this aggressive style here, this aggressive nature of Dark working against him. He gets another surround, though. Another Immortal. Can we get it? Up. Oh my god, barely we might be able to. At the same time, we cannot push in on the right-hand side. The Immortal survives. Nightmare doesn't lose anything here. Only a couple of Zealots. A good defense once again. And the problem is, this entire time, Dark, he's been doubling down on Lingbane Roach Ravager. It hasn't been worth it. These trades have not been worth it for Dark. And he's being punished for not taking up. Now he throws out Infestation Pit, but the Hive is late. The Hydra Den, the Lurker Den, Ultras, Great Respire, whatever we want to go for, it is delayed here for Dark. He's stuck on a mid-tier army, and we have Skytoss on the way. Dark is on a timer. He's on a timer. He has to make a timer. He has to make this worth it. He needs to trade. He needs to get into a mineral line. He needs to clean up an army. He's going for the surround. We have the overcharge. Banelings, they're rolling in, and they crash into the shield battery. They're going for the mineral line. Army behind us, but we do get in. And probes are going down. 18 workers. Finally, we get some economic damage. And I wonder, did Dark get eyes on the researching cybercore and on the mothership? Oh boy, because right now he does kill a mineral line, which is good. Unfortunately, Nightmare still has a comparable economy. He's only down 7 workers. I would say that Nightmare, again, still pretty even in the economy here against Dark. +3 is on the way, +1 air attack. Dark still does not have a Spire or a Hydra Den. Oh, he's getting caught out as well. Storm, it grazes the army. Catch some of the banelings. We clear up a lot of the creep. Dark backing off. Still hyper committed here to ground Zerg. And you can see instantly, Nightmare, he's reprobed. He's already caught up in workers. He's exceeded his opponent in workers as well. Carrier production has commenced. And Spires take a long time to build. Hydra's a little bit less, Hydroden a little bit less so, but the Spire takes quite some time. And reactively, a Spire it's a scary thing to rely on. A reactive Spire. Ling's going to be threatening the right-hand side, but there are plenty of cannons in position. Dark still looking for a way in. Meanwhile, we are just banking up those carriers. We have more cannons, more shield batteries. Nightmare has done a great job here at defending, at deflecting for the past 13 minutes. And this is his win condition, and he's getting there. Dark pushing forward, runs into some storms. On the right-hand side, Baileys, they roll in, but Nightmare is so quick to pull away. Does preserve his workers. Will be losing his stack defense, though. And Baileys are rolling in. Dark gets into a middle line. Gets a couple of probes. At the same time, though, a big Zealot counterattack. There are queens, though. Plenty of queens in position. Dark, he does get 4 probes, but that is still not enough. And we still... am I correct? Let me just double check. Yeah, we still don't have anti-air. We have a handful of queens. That's kind of it. Looks like the leagues are, they're wreaking havoc. They're going to be able to get a base. Base is going to be going down. Carriers, they have revealed themselves. Dark now knows. And there it is. A Spire gets thrown down. I mentioned before, reactive Spires are a brutal thing to rely on. Takes a long time to build. There's a window. There's a window here where Nightmare can push out. He did just lose a base. Bear that in mind. A base did fall to these Lings. Dark, he's finally achieving something with this harassment, with this aggression. And Nightmare, he's having a hard time pushing out. If he ever does, we do have Dark to push in. The High Templar! 4 High Templar go down. Big pickoffs. The Banelings did connect. That was 4 High Templar. And Dark, he has to be active like this. He has to make sure that Nightmare doesn't push out. If he does, then it's all going to be over. Dark has to buy time. Shield batteries, cannons. Ah, we're pushing. Oh, God. Dark doing the best he can to try to force his army to turn around, but it's nuts. Nightmare, he's committing. He knows. How many carriers do we have? We have 3 carriers so far. Not an amazing amount, but enough. Ling's going for another big counterattack. Nightmare, he's not turning around. Still committing. Turns around with some of his army, but does commit with his carriers. The Spire just finished. Base is going to go down. The Lings are being cleaned up. They kill nothing across the map. Oh, the Biles. Oh, they do graze one of the carriers. We have a Microbial Shroud as well to keep this alive. We have Force a Recall. Oh. And we take down one of the carriers to the Biles. Big pick off there for Dark. Big pick off. Meanwhile, Nightmare, he backs up, replenishes his army, and he's going to keep on pushing. Dark catching an Archon. Nicely done. Of course, he has to realize that with the Spire, he can get into Corruptors, yes, but there's only there's only 2 carriers. There's actually not that much for Corruptors to deal with. We need a ground army. Ideally, we would have had higher tech like Lurkers or Broodlords. We file down another carrier. That's a lot of storms. Oh, the Banelings. They managed to roll in. Clutch slow zone there from Nightmare. Rotating around. It's the ground army that's the real threat at the moment. How many Archons? 9 Archons, 4 High Templar. More High Templar being reinforced. Another Archon on the way. Big storm. Good Biles, though. We catch one of those High Templar. The Biles here from Dark have been insane this game. Like picking up High Templar, Archons, carriers. It's been good stuff. Meanwhile, Zealots are wreaking havoc. Workers are going down. We piled down the mothership. Good fungal. Behind this, though, workers have been getting killed. Storms go down as well. Oh my god, massive storms here on the Roach Ravager, softening them up. Dark, can he clean this up? He piles down the final carrier as well. But the Archons, they push through. The Immortals as well. GG gets called. Nightmare, he just has too much. And Nightmare ties up the series 1-1. GG. GG, well played. Nightmare doing his best. His best Showtime impression, question mark, where he was able to just defend, fortify his bases, and survive, right? Remember, it was constant Lingbane Roach aggression, Roach Ravager aggression from Dark for 13 minutes. For 13 minutes straight, it was just non-stop harassment towards the natural, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and Nightmare, he weathered the storm. Literally and figuratively. He brought the storms, Pappy. He was able to hold on, defend, minimize his losses. There was one moment where Dark was able to get into a mineral line. Remember when the Banelings rolled into the third base where he killed 18 probes? That was like the one moment where he was able to deal some economic damage. But even then, Dark, he only had like 72 or 73 drones, and it didn't take he had 70 workers, that's 70 drones. It didn't take too long at all for Nightmare to just replenish his workers because he had so many Nexus at that time. He had 5 Nexus already, so he could just make 5 probes at a time. And yeah, eventually he was able to just turtle up, build up that death ball of an army. Had a couple of carriers to reinforce, only a couple, 3 in total. And it did snowball out of control. GG. Again, Dark tunnel visioning a little bit too much, maybe a little bit overconfident. That's probably what I will say. That's in line with the personality of Dark, to be a little bit overconfident and to double down on Lingbane Roach Ravager. In the end, did not pay off, didn't do enough damage. And now we're getting into the ace match. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of side Delta, we have the South Korean Zerg player, the Red Zerg representing CranKy Z Gaming. It is Dark. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the South Korean Protoss representing Matcherino Esports. It is Nightmare. I guess Zerg a bit too squishy. I mean, Dark had inflated supply. Like again, Lingbane Roach Ravager is a solid mid-game composition, but as the game progresses, as the army quality of the Protoss gets higher and higher, Lingbane Roach Ravager falls off. It does fall off. But which is also why it was very impressive that Dark was able to... Remember, he biled down every single carrier. That was 3 carriers, the Mothership as well, and even High Templar and Archons with those Ravagers. Like, very impressive what Dark was able to accomplish with that army. But again, it was still working against him. You know, it was still a subpar army at that stage of the game. It's an army that you need to, as we're going for a proxy hatch, it's an army that you need to have momentum with to be able to just snowball out of control and maintain control of your opponent's economy. Meanwhile, we spoke about this before, proxy hatch here from Dark. If you've been watching Dark over the past month, maybe 2 months, Dark does this at least once every single ZVP. He did this against Stats over the weekend, he did it against Nightmare as well on Monday. Dark has been very fond of going for hatch blocks and proxy hatches in recent times. Very fond of it. And again, this is just a way to get ahead economically. We force the boys off the mineral line, we force out a Zealot as well. It's a way to get an economic advantage. As Dark isn't being aggressive, he's droning behind this. Going for a hatch, gas, pool, economic follow-up. British force a cancel. Drone gets out, and our goal here is now to go for the gas steal if possible. As we head into the main base, Probe immediately on the way. Nightmare, he knows, hold position, make sure that the gas is not stolen. And Dark is just going to be an annoyance here in the main, rotating around, taking his third. And we will settle into this. So again, it's not really aggression, it's just a way to disrupt and make the Protoss player as uncomfortable as possible. It's almost like the equivalent of Nightmare going for a pylon block here at the natural base, you know, where you just delay the expansion, you make them uncomfortable more than anything. Dark, of course, has a lot of droning to do. He gets link speed, then pulls out a gas completely into minerals. He needs to catch up as much as he can. Here we go. But now, Nightmare going to be moving out with his army. This is the downside, or something they have to deal with here for Dark. Because he forced out a Zealot, it means that there's that much more here to defend against. So Nightmare, he has potential to maybe break through, but we have plenty of links to defend, and we go for the surround. The Zealot is going to be shut down. So not the best use of that Zealot from Nightmare. It will fall. Adept is racing back home. And behind this, we're getting into our opener. We're getting into our tech. It's going to be a Stargate opener into an Oracle. So this should be leading into a third base. Oracle is going to be moving up for some harassing damage. And behind this, Nightmare should be looking to take either the linear or the triangular third. But the Lings are in position. They are ready to delay that third base. Oracle's moving out. Nightmare a little bit paranoid, actually. Going for a shield battery. A little bit unnecessary, but Nightmare a little bit afraid that maybe Dark is being all in. Alas, not really. So, Nightmare just playing very cautiously, very safe. Investing in that shield battery. Behind this, before the third base, we go for a Twilight Council. This looks like Glaive Adepts. Gateways are on the way. So it looks like Oracle into Glaives. We should still be taking a third base behind this to try to hide it. The goal here is for Nightmare to make it look like he's going for a standard play and standard game. But the fact that he's still on 2 bases is a bit of a tell. Now, I guess I like how we're playing out this series. Remember, last game we also had to delay third base, and it wasn't because of Glaze, it was because of Charge Lot Archon, and I was about to, never mind, it's going to be Charge Archon, or Archons at least. I was about to say that I do like, oh my goodness, the Oracle gets picked off. We get 6 drones though, not bad. I was going to say that I like how Nightmare is playing this out because it still looks like the last game, still looks like game number 2, but this is a very different follow-up. We delay the Robo this time, going for faster results and faster Archons. I'm curious if this is going to be an Archon drop or if we're just going for a 2-base all-in. Because there's still no third. The third is insanely late. For now, we're still on 4 gateways. If we throw down additional gateways, then 100% it's just a 2-base all-in. But there we go. We're expanding. We are taking a third. But yeah, really interesting play here. This is not of the norm. We don't really see this too often. Rushing into charge like this. Meanwhile, back at home, Dark is getting safety spine crawlers, droning up. This spine is indicative that Dark believes it's going to be Glaives, but he does cancel upon seeing the third base. Does cancel that spine crawler, doesn't need it in the end. Roaches are arriving. And Archons are amassing, and we are indeed going for a drop. Prism's on the way. I mean, I say going for a drop, like we could actually commit with this as well. Charge is finishing up just in time for this. There we go, 2 more gateways, 6 gates in total. But Dark isn't droning up too much. He is amassing a Roach army. He has a force, and if Dark was droning, then he would be in a bit of trouble, but oh my god, the station traps do continue to go up. This is impacting the economy of Dark. He's stopping droning here at 59, working up towards 62. And here we go, we are pushing. This is designed to try to catch a Zerg player being too greedy. But again, because of the late third base, Dark has been very, wary. He's been very wary of his opponents. He's been building up a Roach count. The army has been revealed. Dark, he rotates over. And here we go. Nightmare looking for a way in. How many roaches do we have? We have 26 roaches already. Dark, he was ready for whatever his opponent was ready to throw at him. As the Archons, they rotate over towards the would-be 4th. There is no 4th base though, not yet. Dark holding off on it. Building up more roaches. We're going to be convinced of the fight, and this is not a fight that Nightmare can take. Ay. Yeah, roaches, they just shave off those zealots. The Archons do survive. But from here, Dark, he can even counterattack. He's got 11 more roaches on the way. Dark, he's about to max out on roaches. And we don't have much at home to defend. We're building up an immortal-based army. Immortals are in production. The Archons, we can get one. Good juggling, but there's only enough room for 2 Archons. One of them is going to go down. Big pick up here from Dark. And now we can commit. Now we're sending everything across the map. Again, 61 drones is all he has, is all he needs. Stasis Trap is baited out. Shield Battery gets focused down. We do have a second Shield Battery. Immortals, they have arrived. Overcharge is popped. Dark going to respect the overcharge. Backs off for a moment, consolidating his army. And now we're coming in from multiple angles. Stasis Trap, up! It's so close! It does go off. Big stasis here on the Roaches. Big connection. Voids are being pulled. Probes are going down. We do have 2 Immortals. Overcharge was already spent. Once the stasis does run out, then we can just dive on this army. Nightmare, he's not out of it yet. And now we can commit. We do push him forward. Decent force fields. We're diving on top of the Immortals. Good juggling. Very nice juggling here from Nightmare. But the Roach army just does not stop. Doesn't end. We clean up the Zealots. And now there's barely anything left over. We do save the Immortals, but I can't say the same about the Archons, the Zealots, or the Stalkers. At this base, it's going to go down. Yeah, Nightmare juggling is hard out here with those Immortals, but that's 20 dead probes. As well as the base. And from here, Dark, he can commit, he can keep pushing. He can head towards that natural. As he chases down what few probes are left. We lost one of the Immortals. Not like this. Dark behind this is taking, he's droning up. 11 workers are on the way. Infestation bit, Bailey Nest, working towards a hive. But we'll see if Dark even needs that as he does rotate towards the natural base. Good positioning with these Immortals. They do pack quite a punch. Nightmare going to try and chase this down. Darky backs off. Again, he's just saturating his 4th, getting a 5th, getting further ahead. Thankfully, this time, not quite tunnel visioning. With that infestation move, we start working towards the Hive, and there it is. Hive is now on the way. With the Hive, we gain access to Vipers, and Vipers would be a secure way to break these entrenched positions with abductions. We can abduct, we can blinding cloud. Nightmare working towards a robotics bay behind this, towards Colossus or Disruptors. But he needs a 3rd. More than anything, he needs a 3rd base. And as Nightmare takes a 3rd, he's exposing himself. This time he doesn't have that high ground, doesn't have the defender's advantage, not like before. And Dark is pushing. He is aware that Nightmare is that much more vulnerable. Yeah, zoning Nightmare away from that natural base. Collapsing on the 3rd, trapping the army. Bailment once again, the stasis traps. Big stasis traps here from Nightmare, but it may not be enough anyway. There's just too much Road Traveler. The juggling is good, but again, we can only save 2 of those Immortals in the end. Everything else goes down. We clean up the 3rd. Nightmare going for a Zealot counterattack across the map. But GG is called. It's not enough, and Dark will take the series 2-1. Advancing on to the grand finals. GG. GG, well played. Solid game there out of Dark. Really interesting build out of Nightmare. Winding it back, remember, Nightmare went for a very delayed 3rd base, went for a faster Twilight Council into Templar Archives, into Robo as well. Very tech heavy to rush into Charger Archon. Remember, that push, that move out from Nightmare, that's what he was building up towards. That was the point of his build. That was the point of his opener, to build up towards that Archon push. It was 3 Archons and a wave of Zealots. But because of what happened in game number 2, where he also went for a delayed base, and because of, again, the timing of the expansion, Dark was playing it safe. He went for a Roach Warren, built up a Roach army. You saw the Spine Crawler, like, he was assuming it was going to be something like Lavedeps. It wasn't, but regardless, like, Roaches would be necessary. So Dark wasn't being too greedy. He was amassing an army. He was ready for whatever Nightmare had to throw at him. And again, he didn't really know what was coming, but ready for an army nonetheless. And as a result, that first Archon push didn't do anything. Didn't do any damage. Didn't get any economic damage done either. Did delay the 4th, but I mean, the 4th was delayed because we had so many roaches, and yeah, Dark was in a commanding position. GG, well played. But a shout out to Nightmare, because you know what? He forced an ace match. He went all the way to game 3 against Dark. Not an easy thing to do. Dark is one of the best Zerg players in South Korea in the world, so props to Nightmare to make it to game 3. And with that, we are heading into the finals. The grand finals here. I do need a moment to set things up, but it is going to be another ZVP. We did, of course, cover Classic earlier today, and Classic, he had his way with the Terran players. He had his way with Coffee as well as Kior. He took them both down in the quarter and semifinals. And Classic has been patiently waiting here in the finals for his opponents. Here we go. It is going to be that ZVP best of 5 as well. Not a best of 3 in the finals. We're ready for some more games. Ready to go all the way to the ace match. All 5 games. That's what I'm hoping for at least. And Dark and Classic, they do go back and forth. Classic, he is of a similar vein of Hero, where he's a very aggressive player in his own right. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point this series, Classic goes for a Tempest Rush. He's been very fond of going for fast fleet beacons and a second Stargate in this matchup, at least once in the series. It's very map dependent, but he does like to whip it out. Likewise, Glaive Adepts, 3 base all-ins. Classic is very aggressive here in PvZ. And we'll see where this takes us. Because everything that I just said about Classic, Dark, also very aggressive. ZVP unwinnable. Este starter. Why are you pretending like you know anything about it? Wait. Go back to your Kerrigan survival. Este starter. Ay. Shaking my head. Go back to your star auction. And here we go, spawning in the top right hand corner of Alkione, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the red Protoss representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner, we have his opponent, we have the South Korean Zerg player, the blue Zerg representing CranKy Z Gaming. It is Dark. Here we go. Again, the last time we saw Dark on Alkione, we saw Dark take the goal base here on the left-hand side. We saw him have a little bit of fun against Nightmare. And the drone is moving out. Oh, no, never mind. Okay. Was attempting to take a third base if there was a probe denial, but we go back in. Standard hatchery here from Dark. Is going to be respecting Classic quite a bit here. Not going for that fast gold. Probe scout is coming in, and we will get eyes on the hatchery. So Classic, he knows everything is on the up and up, and we are not rushing into the goal base. So going to be a hatch gas pool here from Dark. Classic going for a gate expand, so everything is looking normal. Here we go. As we ease into our finals, ease into our best of 5. Again, our players have had a really brutal weekend of StarCraft as well. Classic, he of course had to compete and play in the IEM NA qualifiers the day after KSL, and even the morning of. Fun fact, I was really curious if Classic was going to be playing in KSL because he was up since, I want to say 5 AM KST, playing in the European qualifiers up until like midday KST. It was crazy how long the European qualifiers were, and Classic went all the way to the final qualifying match as well, where he didn't qualify. It was brutal that Classic didn't make it in during the European qualifiers, but he stayed up throughout all of it, and he still stayed up even longer to play in KSL. That's dedication. Dedication, Bobby. Aye. Oh my god. As Classic also after this played in the NA qualifiers, and if you were a part of the broadcast, as Dark is taking the goal base as his third. Let's go. This is something that you can do on Alkione. rush into the goal base as your natural or even your third base. We'll see if Classic can try to get on top of that. For now, it's going to be a Stargate opener. Classic is in the dark. He's not fully aware of how dark has expanded, but going to be a Stargate opener into Oracle play. Standard play here from Classic. But what I was getting at is that if you were tuning in to the CranKy Ducklings, we did cover every single regional or every single server qualifier for IEM, and Classic did also play in the NA qualifiers, and he was not able to make it through. It was a big upset. Classic is one of the favorite players to qualify, but wasn't able to. And I forgot to mention this. Classic, every ZVP that we've casted from Classic over the past like 2 weeks, Void Ray first. Void Ray first, not Oracle. Which is both a good thing and a bad thing. The Void Ray is going to be shutting down this Overlord, denying any kind of scouting information. The Adept does get eyes on the third. We do see the creep. We know what's going on. But this Void Ray can't really punish this gold. Oracle's going to be coming out after this. Now, with this Void Ray, because we shut down the Overlord, we can, of course, tech up in different directions. We can go for Glaive Adepts. We can go for Fast Sky Toss. We can go into like Stalker based all in. And we have our tech of choice. That is a Twilight Council and a Gateway Explosion before the third base. This screams Glaive Adepts. Now, I know I said that earlier when casting Nightmare, and Nightmare was going for this kind of like weird Chargel Archon based stuff on 2 bases, but that's more of the exception. That's very unique to Nightmare. From Classic, this should be Glaives. Meanwhile, Lynx have arrived. They shut down one of those Adepts. Oracle dips in towards that goal, but we have a Spore. We have a Queen in position. The Oracle having a bit of a hard time finding damage here. And we have gone up to 4 gateways. Now, this isn't an all-in. Classic should be expanding, and there we go. Third base is on the way. Meanwhile, there is Glaives, as we mentioned. Glaive Adepts are going to be on the horizon. And we have seen Classic defeat Dark with Glaives before, but this is going to be an interesting one. So, the bases are very spread out. Very spread out here for Dark. So he's going to have a hard time rotating between his gold and his natural. But at the same time, I don't know if the Adepts can really, because they're so far apart, I don't know if they can really threaten the gold base too much. We'll see where Classic focuses his attention, whether he tries to punish the gold or the natural base. Stay Strap goes down, triggered by only a single Ling. Nice reaction out of Dark, does pull back in time. Good reactions here as he will be able to hold on. Meanwhile, that's a lot of Adepts. 11 Adepts, and we're going to be shading across the map. We are spotted by the Lings. Roach Warren is done. We have 24 Lings in production. We're looking to deny the third base, and the Void Ray has to turn back around. Oh, God. We have defensive warp in. Classic, he is delaying his push. We have so many Lings in production. Queens are moving out as well. Do we commit? We commit to the shade. We do commit. The Lings are ready and waiting. Looks like we're going to be able to focus down some of these Queens, but the Lings are wreaking havoc. The Roaches, they come out. And we don't kill workers. So many Adepts to get shut down. Only a handful of them make it in towards the natural. But we do get into the mineral line. We got 1 drone. No shot. We get 2 workers, maybe 3, maybe 4. Up. 4 drones go down. 4 workers for how many Adepts? 15? 16 Adepts, papi. Ay. That was not worth it here for Classic. It was a big commitment. We delayed the third base for this. We delayed Blink and +1 for Glaive Adepts, and it just was not worth it. And now Dark, he's in a good position. He's got his gold base up and running. He's got a massive Roach army to work with, and he is looking to counterattack and to punish this third base. Ravagers are on the way. Roach speed in production. I don't think we're going to wait for it. I don't think we're going to wait for Roach speed. We're going to be pushing far sooner than that. Void Ray is doing what it can. Queens are being brought forward. And now we are pushing towards that third. Things, they go for the dive. They get on top of the Stalkers. They force the overcharge. And the rest of the army has arrived. We just have far too much DPS. Again, Classic just too far behind after the failed Glaive Adepts. GG gets called, and Dark will take game number 1. Ooh, GG. It is always a risk you take when you go for something like Glaive Adepts. Again, it does put everything else behind, so you need to get damage done with it. You need to be able to trade either with the army, with the queens, with the drones. Alas, Classic was shut down. And just like that, Dark snowballs out of control, takes game number 1. But it's a best of 5. It's a best of 5. We have plenty of ways to come back in this game. I expect Classic to continue to go Void Ray first, but the follow-up is where Classic deviates. You know, again, I was certain we would see Glaive Adepts at some point in this series. I'm also pretty sure that we're going to see Skytusk at some point in this series as well. We'll see though. Again, map dependent. As we are going to be loading into Hard Lead. Here we go. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Hard Lead, we have the South Korean Protoss player representing Twisted Minds, down in the series but looking to fight back. It is Classic. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player, the Blue Zerg, representing CranKy Z Gaming. It is Dark. And leading the series 1-0. And we'll see how things unfold on Hard Lead. Hard Lead is going to be another interesting map, as it does have a very short rush distance by ground. We've seen a lot of aggression here on this map from both the Zerg and the Protoss. So who is going to try to take advantage of the map? Who is going to be the aggressor? Who is going to be the defender? Where are you taking us? As Dark is going for a hatch first. At the natural base location. Let's go. No proxy hatches yet. Not yet, at least. Again, I expect the early game to be pretty standard. I expect Gate Expand, Cybercore into a Stargate. I said it before, I still feel like Classic is most likely going to go for a Void Ray first again. He's very fond of it in recent times. He's been very fond of the Void Ray, and for good reason. He has been able to take down some big Protoss players with it as a result. Been able to get some big wins. We'll see if he can do it again. Now Probe just going to be an annoyance in the main, tasing away at the mineral line. I'm just trying to force some inefficient mining as we settle in towards the mid game. So I'm just checking the match history here because I know that Classic took down some big Zerg players. I'm just slipping through my mind. Okay, I remember he took a game off of Raynor. Do you recall that? Yeah, 2-0 Dark last week in ESL Asia. That's what I was thinking of. Took down Dark, took maps off of Raynor. And again, these past almost month, I want to say. I mean, it's time, it all melds together. Especially when you're casting so much, it all melds together. But I want to say for the past month, like, Classic has been very fond of Void Rays. But we'll see. There's that Stargate opener. Behind this, Dark trying to take his third. Classic being as annoying as possible. Does force the linear third out of Dark. This is important. If this space was taken, this is the beginning of a bit of a launch pad for creep across the map. You can start spreading creep, knocking down these rocks, and the rush distance by ground that much shorter here if we were to go for a Roach Queen all in. And this space is quite pivotal when it comes to that. And Classic does deny it. As the Depth is going to be threatening a dive into the main. Lings are coming out, and this time, let's go. It's not a Void Ray, it's an Oracle. Okay, we are not going to be playing with this series, so I was going to say that if we had gone for a Void Ray first, we could maybe try to fake out Glaives like last game and try to go for something different. This time, very standard opener. Oracle first, should be leading into a third base, should be leading into double and then triple Oracle into an economic game. Which means Classic is not going to be aggressive. Okay, a very different shade of Classic from the last game. There's that third on the way. Oracle has been revealed. Ling's going to be coming in. The wall! The wall, not quite a wall. And we get a full scout as well. We get eyes on any follow-up type. We get eyes on the second Oracle as well. Very important to take note of. Dark won't... he shouldn't kill anything, but again, he sees everything. He even forces the activation of the Pulsar Beam. Forces energy to be wasted. Dark, he's fully aware of what's going on. Now he knows he can be greedy. Essentially, he knows he can drone. Because he doesn't have to worry about Glaive Adepts or fast charge or fast blink or anything like that. You can drone freely. Interesting, we're going for +1 melee. This is indicative of Ling Bane, potentially Ling Bane Hydra. Especially because of this opener, this screams +1 blink. Like, everything that was seen so far screams +1 blink Stalkers. So, going Ling Bane into Hydras makes plenty of sense here from Dark, based on what he scouted. We'll see if he goes for a safety Roach Horde. So far, Adepts, they shade on into the main base. They clean up the Lings, head into the mineral line, and they're gonna get some drones. Oh, they're trying to. They get one. When they barely get two as well. A third, not quite. 2 drones, it's okay. Oracles, they dive in. The Queen's right of position. The Spores as well. We're wreaking havoc. 7, 8, 9 drones go down. Oh my god, we're not done either. We get a 10th drone. Dark. A little bit distracted by those Adepts. The Queen's not where they needed to be. No Spore either. And Classic does punish him. And now Dark is committed. And I wonder, have we poked the bear? So, very often in this matchup, if Dark ever loses too many drones, he goes all in. And right now, we're flooding Lings. We're flooding nothing but Lings across the map. No drones on the way. Banelings are being morphed in as well. Dark, he feels the pressure. He knows he lost far too much, and he is just doubling down, hoping that maybe Classic is too greedy. We are going to charge, not blink, but regardless of the upgrade, it's not done, and the Lings are just wreaking havoc here at the third base. They clean up the Zealots. They don't quite kill too many probes, though. The probes will escape, but here come the Banelings. Oh, no. Banelings are rolling in from every angle. Oh, my God, the flanking Banelings. We crash into the middle line. Probes are going down. The Zealots as well. And before we can think about the Twilight Council upgrades or the Forge, the third base is going to go down. And now Dark can drone. Now Dark can actually saturate his bases. He is content with the damage he's dealt. Banelings, they threaten a dive into the natural base. The Stalker's going, oh my god, does go down. Third base falls. And the Bane bust here is upon us. We don't have another force field. We have to wall up again. Classic in some trouble. The wall has been broken once again. We crash on in. Big surround here. Banelings will connect on those Zealots. And we get into the mineral line. Charge finishes up in 7 seconds. But where are the Zealots? They're nowhere near. They're not here, Papi. GG gets called, and Dark snowballs out of control. Takes game number 2. Takes a 2-0 lead in this series. GG. Oh my god. GG, well played. On the one hand, Classic did an amazing job with his Adepts. Sorry, with his Oracles. His Oracles, they did so much damage. And they forced it all in. It's one of those moments where, again, Dark, very frequently in this matchup specifically, I mean, I say in this matchup, in general, there's something about Dark, like, there's just something in his mind where a flip is switched. If he ever does lose too many workers, he is so quick to embrace that and be like, you know what? You can kill my... That's fine. Kill the drones. Who cares? I would just double down. And if you're being too greedy, if you're not ready for it, then you will die to my counterattack. And GG, well played. Dark. He's so good at, maybe the best way to put it is like going with the punches, right? Like going with the flow here. Adapting to the game state. And with that, he takes a 2-0 lead. And now we're working towards game number 3. Here we go. So we get ready for game. Yeah, get ready for that third game. Spawning in the bottom left-hand corner. Ooh, bottom left-hand corner of Hecate, we have the South Korean Protoss player up against the wall, down in this series. He has to fight back here and now. Can he pull it off? Can he pull off the reverse sweep? Representing Twisted Minds, it is Classic. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player, the Blue Zerg, representing CranKy Gaming. One game away from becoming this week's KSL champion. It is Dark. We go. Classic going to be forcing the unnatural natural, just being a bit of a nuisance here in the early game. Should be going for a gate expand. But what direction do we go in now? My eyes are on Classic. He has been deviating so far this series. Game 1, Void Ray into Glaive Adepts. Game 2, Oracle into a third base. Standard game in Game 2, other than, of course, going towards Charge instead of Blink, which was designed to try to catch Dark off guard in the mid-game, but Classic wasn't able to get into the mid-game is the problem. So what do we have in store for us here in Game 3? This is what I love about Classic. Classic is a very versatile player, similar to Hero, where in a best-of-5 series, even if we go all 5 games, Classic and Hero, they're both willing to just bring something new to the table every single game. So we'll see what we got. See what we have. For now, Probe just going to be scanning the main base, being a little bit annoying, forcing some inefficient mining, getting eyes on any additional gases, any fast roach warren. Just making sure everything is on the up and up. Even chipping away at that drone. Shouldn't get it though as he comes back. Up. Right, as he finally does retreat. Spawning pool is done. Hatchery gets up and running. Queens are on the way. Again, standard opener here out of dark. Meanwhile, my eyes are on Classic. Based on this pylon positioning, it looks like a Stargate opener once again. Just to be thrown down in the main. Cybercore is done, and we should be seeing our tech of choice, and it is going to be that Stargate. But what comes out of this Stargate? Because we've seen some variety so far this series. Game 1 was a Void Ray. Sure, to be expected. Game 2 was the Oracle, so we'll see what we go for here. Phoenixes are not unheard of. They're a little bit more niche to go into a Phoenix opener. They're a little bit out of fashion. They rose in popularity at the start of the year, like around March, April, February, but did fall off. And it was just a cheeky way to open up to try to CC and crowd control queens, to get into mineral lines, to kill drones. Hero was quite fond of it, but again, since that has fallen by the wayside. And we'll see what we do open up with. For now, Stalker has been revealed, chasing back this Overlord, and once again, we have an Oracle first. Okay. And I love that we still have this Stalker as well, as we get quite a lot of damage done to this Overlord. But the revelation of this Stalker makes it look like we're going for something a little bit different. Dark is in the dark. Is making a massive wave of Lings, though, going to be moving out across the map. Going to be denying any kind of third base. These Lings, they aren't designed to break into the natural, just designed to contain the Brodos to 2 bases. There we go, we do catch the Adept. Adept goes down. Lings are moving out. Stalker is in position. The base is delayed here as Classic has to hide that probe. So far, so good out of dark. He's going to be checking, rotating between them. Does confirm the lack of third. And ideally, he wants to delay this third base for as long as possible. Now we do have a second Oracle and soon to be a third Oracle. This should be more than enough to expand. And there it is. Third base is now being taken. And these Lings shouldn't be able to threaten it. Even if they dove on it, we have the Oracles to clean them up. And Dark, he's aware of that. Behind this, going to be droning, throwing down his Spore Crawlers. Again, he's fully aware of the opener now. There's that Forge and Twilight Council. Now, I did mention that this should be and looks like +1 and Blink Stalkers, but last game, Classic, he wasn't really able to get into it, but he was trying to go into +1 and Charge instead. A little bit more out of the norm. So I'm curious if he's maybe feeling like he was robbed of that last game and he wants to get into the charge lots, or if he does go into Blink Stalkers instead. Meanwhile, the Oracles, they do get between the bases. Spore's not done. Ooh, but we lose an Oracle in the process. 5 worker, 6 worker kills for 1 Oracle. I would say maybe an even trade, but Oracles, they do have a lot of value, especially defensively. So we do catch another drone, denying the would-be 4th. Delaying the would-be 4th even. And there it is, +1 and Charge. So this is the same build as last game. Classic wasn't really able to get into it because of the Ling Flood and because of like Dark popping off and snowballing out of control. But now Classic, he's going to be able to ease his way into the mid-game. Ling's going to be threatening these bases, but we should have more than enough to defend. We have 1 Oracle back at home. Oh, get a probe. Do you get a worker? Shield battery isn't done. force the energy to be spent. Behind this, Templar Archives is on the way. We are going to be hitting a timing here with Chargelots and Archons. Very similar to what we saw from Nightmare. I say similar because if you remember, this was an economic opener. Nightmare, he rushed into those Archons and delayed his third base, which is what forced or what caused Dark to overinvest into Roaches and have more than enough to shut down Nightmare. This time, this is more hidden. And Dark, he is going to be taking up even further. Sure, we have the Roach Warden and +1 range, but that is a Spire on the way. It's going to be on Classic to scout this. He is on 2 Oracles. Remember, he lost 1 earlier. One of these Oracles stuck behind the mineral line. He needs to get eyes on this. He needs to scout. For now, stuck at home. Building himself back up. Archon has been revealed, and the Overseer gets into the main base, and now Dark is fully aware of what's going on. Seeing this tech, screams Chargeout Archon. He's aware. He will be getting ready. And this is going to be a good thing for Dark as well, because without Blink Stalkers, it's going to be that much more difficult to keep up with the Mutas. In a head-to-head fight, Archons, sure, they can annihilate Mutas, don't get me wrong, but defensively, Archons are very immobile, and Mutas have potential to wreak havoc in these mineral lines. You know what, here we go. Classic is pushing. I believe pushing with his Warp Prism. Wait, what? No, there's no Warp Prism with this. Okay, so he's just posturing. I was like, are we really going to commit without a Warp Prism? No. We're just clearing up creep. I don't think Classic intends to push up any of these ramps. I think it would be a mistake if he did. There's no Warp Prism, not just to reinforce, but also to juggle these units and to maintain or to keep these Immortals alive. So Classic, he backs off. Basically, he was just puffing up his chest, trying to force an overreaction while he retreats back home. The problem here, I mean, it's a really good move. It's a really good way to force Dark to overmake Roaches. The problem is that Dark, he's on 74 drones, and the Spire hasn't been scouted yet. Mutas are on the way. Oracle racing back home. Now, there is a cannon here at the 3rd. Natural is exposed. Main base is exposed. So these Mutas, they have potential for damage. As they happen to go for the 3rd base, the most fortified base of Classic. So the Mutas, they ignore the cannon, they go straight for the probes. At the same time, pushing towards the 4th. The Leagues, they get into the mineral line, but so far the overcharge is popped, and Classic, he does hold onto his 4th base. I can't say the same for his natural, though. Ugh, probes, they're going down. Again, his natural so exposed. The Stalkers, they're struggling to keep up. There is no blink. He focuses on 2 Stalkers. The probes are so low. 11, 12 workers go down, and now we can just rotate into the main as well. Again, no stack defense. Classic trying to dive on top of these Roaches at the same time. And the Mutas, they just rotate down towards the 4th, and there's still no blink. But now it's done. Finishes up just in time. But 17 probes have gone down. Classic, he's committed. We're not done. We're not done. Oh, no. Additional workers going to be falling here at the natural as we rotate towards the 3rd. It's going to be 21. And from here, Dark is doubling down on Roach production. Roachling, Hydrogen is done to get into Hydra Lurker Viper eventually. Roaches, they do come across the Immortal-based army. It's a lot of Immortals. A lot of Stalkers as well. Classic is in position. He can take a fight. He can try to. Yeah, Dark, he cannot push up this ramp. Classic is in position. He takes down so many Roaches. Dark gets an Archon. The Immortal does bleed out an Immortal, though. Dark, he's gaining value. Meanwhile, the Mutas are still not cleaned up. I can't believe they're still alive. Oh my god. Getting even more workers here in the main. That's going to be 4 or 5 dead workers. Can we get 6? 7? 7 more probes. How many in total? 30. 30 probe kills from 8 Mutas. Essentially. Like, we had 22 earlier. Yeah, they're plus these 7. My god. Those Mutas more than paid for themselves, and behind this, again, Hydra production, Infestation Pit for a Hive, for eventually Vipers and Lurkers. For now, Roach Hydra is a composition of choice. Dark, he needs to trade out these Roaches. He has far too many Roaches, a very inefficient army. He's more than happy to trade. Classic, he gets a Revelation, he's in position. He is trying to keep up with the movement. A couple of Roaches are peeled up. The main army is distracted. Dark going for a bit of a counterattack here towards that 4th base, but Classic keeps up. Yeah, the Stalkers, they dive on top of the Roaches here, and Dark is going to be losing this fight here on the right-hand side. Towards the left, he doesn't gain ground. Really good trades here from Classic. But I did mention that Dark did want to get rid of those roaches. The roaches, they were hurting him more than helping him. And you can see Ling Hydra to reinforce. No more roaches in production for Dark. The era of the roach has come and gone. But that was a brutal trade. How many roaches was that? That was 28 roaches for one Archon and a handful of Stalkers. Classic, is he overextending though? The Ling Hydra coming in, engaging with the Stalkers. Immortals that much less effective here against this army. No Lurkers yet, just Ling Hydra. Again, Dark refining his army composition, working on +1 carapace. He's already got +2 range. He's coming in for the surround. He wants to collapse on this army. Prism on the right-hand side, looking a little bit exposed. We're getting on top of the Immortals. Prism goes down. No more reinforcements. Clutch transfuses the Queens. They're pushing on forward here. We're trying to get on top of the Immortals. The stasis traps up. They will go off. But the Immortals, they are caught out. 1, 2, 3 Immortals go down. We blink. We expose the Immortals. And Classic, he bleeds out far too much here. Dark taking a massive fight. He took down 5 Immortals. The Archons. A good trade here from Dark. Behind this, he's on a good economy. He has a 5th base soon to be up and running. And there's that Lurker Den. There's a Lurker Den in conjunction with the Hive. We may not even need the Lurker Den, just because Dark has such a massive supply lead. Moving forward here with his Ling Hydra. Storm is on the way, but it's not done. If we had Storm, maybe we could hold. But we don't have Storm. Not yet. The Hydras are stutter stepping forward. Classic trying to fake out Storm a little bit with his High Templar movement, but yeah, Dark, he doesn't buy it. Doesn't buy it at all. He breaks through into the 4th base, gets on top of the army. GG gets called, and Dark will take the series 3-0, becoming this week's Korean StarCraft League champion. GG. GG, well played. Oh my god. Dark wreaking havoc with those mutas. The mutas, they were the MVPs. They killed 30 probes on their own. That was wild how much economic damage they dealt, and it just so happened to be because it was Charger Archon. If it was Blink Stalkers, then Classic would have had a much easier time keeping up and a much easier time trying to maintain control of his bases and shutting down those mutas. But because Blink was delayed because of the charge opener instead, I mean, luck was on Dark's side in that at that stage. Those mutas, they got out of control, crippled the economy. Dark did have a rough trade with his roaches. That is true, 100%. After the muta harass, a lot of roaches went down. It was a really rough fight for Dark, but he had a good enough economy to sustain those losses and to remax on Ling Hydra instead. After losing all those roaches, I don't blame Classic for going for a counterattack, right? After winning a big fight, went for a counterattack, but it was an overextension, and Classic, he was caught out. He overcommitted, overextended, and after he lost his Immortal-based army, like, he didn't really have anything left to survive that counterattack. Needed more time for Storm, needed more time for splash damage. GG, well played. And with that, congratulations to Dark for taking the series, for becoming this week's champion, having, again, a dominant performance here over Classic. And again, it was a bit of a shorter broadcast here, or a shorter tournament. I mentioned before that a lot of the Koreans are either resting up and traveling for DreamHack, or they're resting because of the intense IEM Katowice qualifiers that they were a part of. That's why we were missing a lot of our regulars here. We were missing Creator, for example. We were missing Bjorn. I know Bjorn was traveling to the Americas. I think he's currently in the Shopify HQ in Canada. But Bjorn was missing. Solar, DRG, Shin, Ragnarok, Hero. Hero was missing as well. He's usually our champion for KSL. Hero, he's usually winning these. But yeah, they were missing here this week, again, for good reason. If you missed what I said, this weekend, DreamHack Atlanta. DreamHack Atlanta is this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Make sure you tune in, make sure you support it, make sure if you are local, you're a part of it as well. Again, if you happen to be in the land of the Americas, or even in Canada nearby, consider maybe heading over to DreamHack. I mean, at this point, it may be a little bit too late to like set flights and stuff like that, but regardless, there is going to be a major event in the Americas, and it's going to be amazing, going to be a lot of fun. We will be a part of that broadcast in one way, shape, or another. I believe we're going to be one of the side streams covering the open stage, the open bracket of DreamHack Atlanta. So there are a lot of players that are actually flying to DreamHack that didn't qualify for it, but they're going to be trying to work their way through the open bracket instead. I think the open bracket has been revealed. Hold on. We can actually have a look at it. DreamHack Atlanta. Where are we? I believe the group stage has been shown. Oh yeah. Oh my god. So many players, so many players. We can have a look at that. Big shout out to Ion Papi. Oh my god, the best player in Costa Rica. Thank you. Thank you so much for subscribing with Twitch Prime. We appreciate the support. Thank you, Papi. Thank you. We're just wrapping up with the broadcast. We just did wrap up with KSL. But before we end the stream, I did want to quickly have a look at the brackets. Sorry, at the group stage of DreamHack, because I actually haven't looked yet. I don't know what we're going to be getting into, and I don't know what we're going to be casting yet either. One moment. DreamHack Atlanta. Man, there we go. Okay, from the top. Again, as a reminder, we had a bunch of qualified players from the regionals, but these are all players that are flying to the Americas, to Atlanta, off of their own plane ticket. You know, they're just making their own way there, and they're trying their luck in the open bracket. And it's a massive open bracket. We have Creator, Papi, Joe, Riser here in Group A. We got Björn, of course, traveling over through the open bracket with Pili Pili and Creature. Of course, a lot of Native American players here because they're local, alongside some of these traveling players. Lambo is in Group C, alongside Patty Mac. Patty Mac, he's been residing in China for many months at this point. Now he's coming back home to compete in DreamHack Atlanta. Lunacy's traveling? Crazy. Oh my god. Big shout out to Lunacy. Really cool to see him there. Can I maybe... There we go. Lunacy. Group D, Bonnie's traveling. Nina's going to be there. Maples, Reaper. Ooh, that's a pretty brutal group, actually. A lot of big names. Some of these groups have, like, amateur players, like here, Neurosis, or Oberoth, or CS Falcon. Here, Group D, bit of a group of death. We got Maples, Reaper, Nina, and Bunny. This could go either way. That's a brutal group. Group B, Solar, the Danger Dolan. Dolan is there alongside Zane, who's traveling. Quaz, one of the more amateur players. We have a Laser, Future. Jinio's traveling. Jinio and Lunacy. They're traveling together, I think. They're good friends, I know. Really cool to see them. Jinio and Lunacy making their way over towards the Americas alongside Aspera. We have Juanito, Special here, alongside Jeshi. Jeshi is traveling. You do love to see it. Alongside Epic and Jay. Jay, another GM player as well. So, a bit of a tougher group. And Torque! Torque! Oh my, that's a blast from the past. Our Greek Protoss player. For those who don't know, Torque, he was once a GM back in the day. When I say back in the day, I'm talking about like 2014, 2015. Torque was a student of Crank. I say student, was a subscriber alongside us. He was a CranKy Duckling before CranKy Ducklings were formed. Torque was a big supporter of Crank back in the day, and often would get coaching sessions from Crank as well. Yeah, I haven't seen him active in a long time, but yeah, really cool to see. I'm excited. Maybe we'll cast him. Maybe we'll cast him. Torque alongside M. Canning. We need Zaun. Zaun? Is that you? If you don't know, Zaun, he's been around for a long time. He retired. Zaun has not competed in a very long time. I am shocked to see him here. Oh wait, no, sorry. My apologies. I just realized something. Yeah. Sorry, my apologies. Someone help. 2022. I'm looking at the wrong one. That's why Zaun was there. That should have tipped me off. I'm like, what? Hold up. Let's see if we see Zaun again. My apologies. Wait, what? These links, recent events. Wait, what? Why is this in recent events? Where's the link? What's happening? My apologies. My mistake. I am Katowice. Does someone have a link? What year is it true? Why is hold up. Okay, look. I need to save myself a little bit. Why is this link up here leading to DreamHack Atlanta? It should not be up here. What's going on? Let's look at these events. Hold on. Will I Am Katowice take me there? I was wondering. Yeah. I'm trying to find it too. Okay. We got a link in the chat. My apologies. Okay, we'll go over it again. Okay, there we go. Open stage. All right. Oh my god. Oh, wait, what? Ooh, okay. They have changed the format. These are not GS. Okay, there's a bracket instead. They don't have groups, or they kind of have groups. There's 4 open brackets. Right, hold on. I'll see if I can zoom out. Or zoom in. Okay, there we go. So very different format here. Okay, my apologies. We have some brackets in the open stage instead. 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 players here in each bracket. That's a lot of Protoss. Okay, we have Hero, Traveling, Riser, DNS, Mana. Oh, a lot of the Europeans. DNS, Mana. Uko's here, Mixu, Nightmare, and Creator. This is stacked. This is brutal. Like, what the hell? We have Creator, Nightmare. We have like the best Protoss players in Korea. They're all in the same group in the open stage. Oh my god, that is crazy. Yeah, so it's a bit of a shame. It looks like they have less room for amateur players, so the open stage is smaller this time. But it is very stacked. Scrolling down a little bit further, we have okay, so this is the group of the Protoss. This is the group of the Zerg. We have Lambo, Reaper, Shin, DRG, Geralt, Dolan, Foxer, and Skillis. A lot of the Korean Zergs are here. DRG, Shin, alongside Lambo. Best of luck here with the ZVZs. Dolan up against DRG first round. That's brutal. Oh my god. That's... I wish the best of luck to Dolan. We might cast that. So what I will say, because we're casting the... This is the stage that we're casting. We're casting the open stage on the CranKy Ducklings. Because there are so many really good players here, I'm having a hard time picking and choosing what to cast. What do we cast? Scrolling down a little bit further, we have Bunny. Silky's back! Silky! Okay, now I can talk about retired players. Silky, he has retired, but he is back here once again. He is local to the scene. Great to see Silky. He was once the best Zerg player in America, so cool to see him. Meanwhile, I can get into that rant once again. Patty Mac has been living in China for the past couple of months, and he is returning to the Americas to compete in DreamHack, so great to see the Patty Mac himself once again. Oh god, I'm tempted to cover Patty Mac. Of course, he's an ex-CranKy Duckling. Vindicta. Ooh, Vindicta, Patty Mac here in the same portion of the bracket. Vindicta versus a laser in the first round. Oh my god, that's brutal. That's a really good series. That's a really good TVZ. And then here, Group D, we have a Hero Marine, Maples, Future. Cham is traveling. I wasn't expecting that. Cham and Eggs as well. Both are traveling here to the open stage. As well as Harstem, Zane, Scarlet. A lot of the Korean foreign players here are here. Like Future, Zane, Scarlet, they're all a part of the team house. They're all here in Group D. Only 4 groups. A, B, C, D. Only 4 groups here. It does mean that this open stage is a lot more what's the word? Exclusive. It's a lot more exclusive. Very limited slots available as opposed to the previous year, but very high quality. And I haven't checked the schedule. I'm hoping it's like Group A and Group B first, and then Group C and Group D. I think that's how it works. I hope we go like 2 groups at a time. If it's all at once, that's crazy, and we will have a hard time choosing what to cast. Very hard time. Very hard time. I know Patty. He's learning Chinese. He's studying the tutelage of all the... True. He's been taken under his wing. Yeah, let's see. Okay. If we are casting 2 groups at a time, if it's like Group A and B at the same time, then C and D, what would we cast? Creator versus Mixer looks like a lot of fun. Hero is gonna be favorite of a Riser. A bunch of PvPs here. Fun PvPs, don't get me wrong. Scrolling down. Shin versus Geralt into Reaper or Lambo. Looks good. I feel like we should be covering Dolan. I feel like we should. Like, he's our boy. He's our boy. I feel like we need to be there for Dolan. Dolan and DRG. I think that most likely that's what we're going to be casting. Dolan, DRG into Foxer and Skillus. This is probably where we're going to be focusing our attention. I'm hoping that it's going to be these two groups at once. And then assuming that the other two groups are played afterwards. What do we got? Trigger Patty. That looks like fun. They've gone back and forth. Two up-and-coming Protoss players from the Americas. Vintage or Laser. Again, these two matches, they called to me. They called to me. Scrolling down a little bit further. Future Cham rematch. If you were here a couple of weeks ago, we casted a show match, a best of 5 between Cham and Future, and Cham won that best of 5 against Future 3-1. He did take the series, did win out over Future, so that's a bit of a grudge match. Bit of a grudge match from that show match 2 weeks ago. So that's going to be a spicy one. We got Hearthstone versus Eggs. Zane versus Scarlet. Ooh, again. Roommates going to be facing off. Both Zane and Scarlet have been living in Korea earlier this year. So that's going to be an interesting one. I'm sure some shenanigans are going to be unfolding there. Maybe some mind games with Zane versus Scarlet. But yeah, Future versus Cham for now looks like a lot of fun, and Zane versus Scarlet, for me at least, these two series call to me. I also think it's pretty important as well, and same with these two, to like help cover some of the local players. Like, hey, it's DreamHack Atlanta, right? It's the Americas. It's we're featuring the Americas players, so that's kind of my narrative coming into this. But yeah, we'll get around to it. Again, for those that are curious, the CranKy Ducklings, we will be a part of the side stream. We will only be casting this open stage. We won't be covering. We might cover the winner stage actually. This here, so this is the winner stage. Oh my god, it's a lot of players. This is where some of the invited seeded players are. We might be a part of this as well. I'm uncertain. Yo, give me here versus Showtime Classic. That's a lot of Terran and Protoss. Where are those? Oh, those Zergs are down here. Several Cyan. Oh, this is the main event. Okay, we're not covering this. No shot. They're all trying to make it here into the playoffs. There's a knockout bracket as well. It's open stage, winner stage into knockouts, into playoffs. Okay. There's a lot coming into this. We might cover some of the knockout stage. All I know for certain is open stage we are covering. Winner stage and knockout stage, we'll see. We'll see. We'll let you know. We'll let you know. But yeah, I'm a little bit confused why the knockout bracket isn't up here as well. Like the open stage and the winner stage is here. I feel like the knockout bracket should be here as well. A little bit weird that it's only on the main page, but yeah, regardless, it's a lot of players. A lot of players, Pappy, a lot of players. What is Ex's fad? Colombia, Pappy, Colombia. Best player of Colombia. So yeah, it's gonna be an intense weekend of StarCraft. Make sure you're a part of it. Make sure you follow the channel, because again, we're gonna be casting day 1. We're only covering day 1. Day 2 and day 3 gonna be covered by the mainstream. You got Behemoth, you got Cats, Fear Dragon, Rotterdam, Steadfast, Zombie Grub, Kalaris, and Seltzer are gonna be hosting. Gonna be great. We haven't been added. BCD stream commentary. This is where we should be. Wait, we're here, man. We're here. TBA. I'm announcing it. I think there's gonna be some other side streams as well. I think because I know that Chicken Man and Chicken Man and Dave Testa would have been offered this, but I know that Chicken Man and Dave Testa, they're gonna be at the event. Like, they're gonna be at the venue, so I don't think they can actually cast. So like, I guess luckily, because we're not going to be there, we're free to cast. But I don't think Dave and Chicken Man are going to be here. So we might have some other community casters. Not too sure who, but maybe some other people will jump in. Maybe some of the Europeans, if they're up for it. Wardy, true. Like, I just realized Wardy isn't going to be a part of this, so maybe Wardy will be a B stream or something. I don't know. We'll see if they're interested in covering this. Maybe Renegade? Yeah, maybe Renegade. I think Renegade is going to be a part of this as well. Unless Renegade is also going to the event. We'll see. Ooh. But yeah, with that, Renegade's still hesitating to go on. Okay, I see. So, yeah, if Renegade goes, then unlikely to be a side stream. If Renegade doesn't go, then will probably be a side stream. I forget what Wardy was doing. B stream, I don't know. Regardless, with that, yeah, definitely a lot of really good games to look forward to over the weekend. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Be a part of it. Be there. Be a part of it. Here on the CranKy Ducklings for at least one of those days. I think we also have permission to co-stream. Only if we have the viewership. I think we can be transparent like that. I think we were told if we can hit over 100 concurrents, then we are free to co-stream. But the last time we co-streamed, we were like reaching like 70 or so concurrent viewers. So I don't know if they're going to allow us to co-stream the main event, which is fine. Like I'm happy to just chill and watch. You know, just don't have to cast, don't have to commentate. We can just watch the games back. We can just watch. It's fine. Otherwise, with that, thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are done here for the time being. Our next broadcast is going to be tomorrow. Let me just double check our calendar. If you can't wait for the weekend, and if you still want some more StarCraft inside you, then we got you covered. Tomorrow, we're going to be going over some replays. Some Home Story Cup replays. Home Story Cup was, of course, a weekend ago. It was a weekend ago, and it was a lot of fun. It was amazing to see. I wasn't able to I wasn't able to watch most of it because it is at an awful time for Australia. So we are not going to be going over the playoff brackets. We're going to be going over the group stage. So if you missed out on the group stage of Home Story Cup, we're going to be casting that tomorrow here on the channel. In less than 24 hours, we're going to be having a Home Story Cup catch-up stream of Group A. We're going to be covering Group A, and then the day after that, we're going to be covering Group B. So just going over the group stage. I'm not really interested in covering the playoff bracket because I'm sure most people saw the playoffs. I'm sure most people saw the main event on the final day. When it comes to the group stage, we'll be on that. We will be on that instead. So that is our plan for tomorrow. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support. We'll see you guys tomorrow for Home Story Cup. A big shout out to Eon for subscribing. If you want to follow us, !socials in the chat. I watched it, can confirm the time was awful from Australia. But there you go. We have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Discord. Follow us on YouTube, !YouTube in the chat. You can tune into our VODs as we do upload on a daily basis. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for some Home Story Cup action. Until then, thank you for watching. Thank you for the support. Hasta luego. Bye. Hasta luego. Hasta luego.